You're trying to figure out my plan? Joke's on you, bish. I don't have one.
Let's do it again. Let's do 1 through 30. Ready? Ready? So we open the show. 3,
Okay.
2, 1, 4.
14.
Ooh, 3, 2, 1,
6.
5. Oh, 3, 2, 1, 7.
9.
3, 2, 1, 8.
17.
Why? 3, 2, 1, 12.
22.
3, 2, 1, 20. 3, 2, 1, 5. 3, 2, 1, 4. 3, 2, 1, 5. 3, 2, 1, 8. Why are you doing 8? Why are you going climbing up?
I don't want to be predictable.
3, 2, 1, 3.
9.
3, 2, 1, 6. 3, 2, 1, 2.
11. See how boring this is?
You climbed up and I thought you were going to go the other direction. 3, 2, 1,
7.
4. 3, 2, 1, 5. 3, 2, 1, 9.
9.
Thank God. You're the death of me.
Love you.
I love you too. Welcome everybody into Scurvivor series, the only show where a married couple loses their mind watching Survivor. Of course, we're talking about season 45, the finale episode of season 45 of Survivor. I'm Ray Nicey. With me, as always, is the lovely, the beautiful, the talented Jessie Dubiowski.
I thought you said the Italian. It's like I'm not even 1% Italian.
Talking to Survivor.
That's offensive.
What? I feel like as a culture, America has just decided it's okay to be offensive about Italians and do an offensive Italian stereotype. I feel like as a culture, we've all just sort of decided, that's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're not going to touch that one.
It's like the culture is like, look, we can't do any other impressions, but we can still do Italian. That's fine.
That's
right?
not an impression.
That's not
That's
an
just
impression.
Italian.
That's just Italian. I feel like and maybe there's an argument that it's probably not great. If you're an Italian, that's probably not great. But yeah, it just feels like the culture has just been like, this is the only impression everyone can do. No one can do any other impression. I mean, I guess people can do like Polish people impressions, but what is a Polish person impression, Jessie?
I was going to say it's just a Russian accent, but your borders are invaded.
It's a Russian accent, but you're sad most of the time.
Love being Polish.
It's a Russian accent, but you're obsessed with potatoes. We can make these jokes because we're Polish, right? Is that's the rule of law? Anyways, is that how we wanted to start this episode?
I don't remember anymore.
Welcome everybody to Scurvivor series again. I'm Ryan. That's Jess. We're talking the finale episode.
The finale, please.
The finale.
I'm deciding it's finale now.
Mm-hmm. You've had many email chains with both Miriam and Webster about the pronunciation of finale.
Yeah, and I just think that finale is much more, elegant.
Mm-hmm.
It feels more fun to say.
It feels like it's a word that drapes.
It is a word that drapes, because like in the UK they say the final. That's boring. We say finale because we're trying to put a little flourish on it.
Mm-hmm.
What if we just went full? What's the thing? Scrolly things. The scrolly things.
Tildes?
No. The full, like when you're like shush when you're lettering.
Ribbon? Oh, like I was gonna say cartography.
We're going full
calligraphy.
loop-de-loop, and we're just calling it finale.
Calligraphic.
No.
That sounds like something.
I'm calling it finale now.
Finale. Well, it was the finale. It was finally the finale.
I like finale.
I'm Millie Finale. This is the Millie Finale episode of season 45 of Survivor. Let's talk about it because we got a lot to talk about in this recording. This big 3-hour episode with 90 minutes. I think it was actually 2 hours worth of the actual finale. with only like an hour of the sort of post-op conversation with everybody.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a lot more. But then I was like, how much are they going to have to talk about? Because, like...
There really wasn't... Well, I guess we'll get to that, so we'll save that for that. But let's just get into the show, because there's a lot of different points of conversation I think to have about this episode, because this is a finale that... I don't know. Where of the finales that we've seen, how did you enjoy this one? Do you think this was a really good finale? Do you think it was great? Do you think it was bad? Where do you sort of sitting on with this finale? I thought it was entertaining, for sure.
Yeah.
But where were you on this sort of finale? Sorry, finale.
Finale.
Millie finale.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I don't have enough finales under my belt.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was entertaining. I think the latter half was like Jeff seemed bored.
You made a comment about how Jeff seemed bored at the fire making.
He was like, and now Katura's got a flame.
I think
she's smothering it.
I think what that is.
Now Jake is making a flame. It is burning, burning, burning.
And he wins.
And he won.
I think what that is that I remember it was a sports commentator. I don't remember who it was. Football sports commentator. I don't remember. He made a quote, or he was sort of talking about how how it sucks to commentate a blowout because there's nothing to talk about. And I wonder if that was Jeff. Like, Jeff gets so excited when it's like down the wire between two people or three people or whatever. But when it's a blowout, I'm not surprised if Jeff is like, at that point, he's just like commentating the action, not like hyping it up. It's hard to hype up. Like, can Katura make it while Jake's fire is burning so bright and so hard? Can Katura start one? You know?
Yeah, I imagine after she smothered her fire for the third time, Jeff was probably like, Well, I wonder if he like sat down at that point as like, Jake's fire is burning and burning and burning, and he wins.
But that's obviously we'll get more into that fire making challenge and what went into that later in the episode. But overall, any other thoughts about the finale? I thought it was entertaining and fun. I think it was sort of emblematic, I think, of a lot of what the season was. Jeff talked about in the opening. Jeff opens the show doing a sort of cold open with Jeff, where he talks about how the season has been numbers versus loyalty, and more specifically into that loyalty if these relationships are real or just part of the gameplay. That was sort of the thing that Jeff also said. I think that's sort of like I think it's kind of true. The numbers versus loyalty. A lot of people being like, you know, I'm being loyal to my faction, but then a lot of people being like, oh, you're actually just a number, or, you know, it's numbers. He also says later that this whole season is really about relationships. I also think based on this episode, I think you could say that this season of Survivor is also about, like, I don't want to say like overconfidence or like lack of knowledge or anything, but just sort of like dumb mistakes is what I would sort of describe this season. There was a lot of dumb mistakes that people make, and there's a lot of dumb mistakes people make in this episode for sure, and we'll get to that.
I feel like a lot of it boils down to the dumb mistakes is like dumb mistakes and trust.
Yeah.
There's a lot more trusting other people with your game in this season.
Yeah.
Which to an extent I get, but I think like some people, it was like so much so that they were not prepared for things to go wrong, like Drew.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have a...
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it's like, yeah, there was a lot of people that just sort of like, like the whole Reba 4. I like a lot of the show, the latter half of the season is just like Reba 4's domination. I mean, really, Reba's domination the entire game, because obviously the first half is just Lulu getting utterly obliterated over and over and over again. So really, it's just like domination in that sense, and just sort of like Lulu making dumb mistake after dumb mistake after dumb mistake. And then obviously when we get to the merge, all these people wanting to work with Reba, but no one wanting to take down Reba in any capacity. Sort of a dumb mistake, but also like no one, that sort of like loyalty numbers dogpiling aspect played into it. I feel like the vote of the 5-person vote was like the most exotic vote we've had all season, of like 4 different people's names being written.
It was the most like, it had the most variety.
Yeah. Like everything else is literally just dogpiling, and here it was like, okay, we got voting how you feel, voting for who you want to go. So I enjoyed that, I guess. But let's get into the actual show. We get to the beginning of the show. Post Drew vote. They're at the new beach, of course. New torches, new beach, and everything. Austin confirms that he was, in fact, blindsided. This plays into
his first blindside.
He's on
first
the bad
time
end.
Being blindsided. Poor little babe.
Yeah, he's on the bad side of being blindsided. Says that Dee did not tell him anything. Basically, that Dee didn't tell him. Tells Dee he's not upset because he would have given Drew the amulet, basically confirming exactly what Dee thought was going to happen, which is why she didn't tell Drew. Dee is happy that Austin is okay because she doesn't want Austin to be upset or anything about this.
But yeah, she was right that he would have given Drew his amulet.
Yeah, I think Austin was, looking at that scene, Austin was hurt for sure, but I think he's sort of like sitting there like,
he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's like, it makes sense. I get why. I get why you did that. But it is what it is. It is what it is for sure. Katora has this weird moment where she gets upset about how close Austin and Dee have become and says that she basically needs to break them up. I was like, yeah, of course. I wonder, like, when you have a showmance like that, it's very interesting to me, and I don't know enough of my Survivor history to see how other people react to it. But what's fascinating, I think, like about like a showmance like that is that, do you as another player want to see this showmance flourish, or is it better for you to like stomp it in the ground dead before anything can happen? You know what I mean?
I think as a person, you're probably like, this is adorable. As a player, you're probably like, oh,
these people are getting extremely close. We need to eliminate them.
Yeah.
This is dangerous for everybody's game for them to be this close. Because we didn't really see it, because the last showmance I believe we saw was Matt and Frankie. Franny. And that sort of devolved just because of Matt's ineptitude. And Franny a little bit, but that's, not enough to hurt it, per se. They wake up, they're sitting on the beach, they look over to the right, and they see a little puzzle box with... and the puzzle box says that they need a code. They need to go to 3 different stations with various items with crabs, coconuts, and bamboo. Count up all the crabs, coconuts, and bamboo. Put those numbers into the puzzle box, and get the code or whatever. And then you'll win an advantage for the Final 5 immunity. If you're wrong, you gotta go back and do it all over again, and count up everything again. What do you think about this challenge, this sort of advantage challenge?
I thought it was mean.
Mean? Why do you say that?
Because, so every time you try the combination, you have to go back to all the stations. They put those, it looked like they put them far.
Yeah, Katora made comment about how the coconuts and the crabs were like on other sides of the beach practically.
Yeah, you're just spending your whole day trudging back and forth. Because, like, let's say you go to the 3, right? And you try it. Even if you're like, I think it was 42, not 43.
Yeah.
You got to go back to all 3 before you can try that number again. So, like, that's just rude. It was just mean.
Yeah.
I just thought it was mean. I mean, it really made him work for it. Like, tired him out. And I think that also, too, it kind of leveled the playing field a little bit. Because, of course, the, like, super athletic people are going to be the fastest to get to there first.
Sure.
But,
or in Julie's case, the younger people. Yeah.
But everyone's going to get tired out at some point. And I think it was, like, trying to level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny because just like watching them, like the first time they're like, oh yeah, we got this. The second time they're like,
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Going to the crabs. Gotta go count some coconuts.
There's a shot with Keturah in the woods where she's like saying, I have to like keep moving and persevering and stuff. And she's like drenched in sweat and she's like barely moving and she's trying to keep up and push forward. And it's just like, holy damn, this competition takes a lot out of you.
Because think about it. If you're guessing twice, right? You're doing like, what? 2 full laps on the beach. That's like 6 little dashes across the beach.
Yeah.
Like, and into the woods, and then into the woods.
Into the woods.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And who knows where the bamboo was.
And even if one number is wrong.
And the bamboo, I guess, was like on a weird kind of rocky hill.
Yeah.
You know, because they had to trudge up the forest.
This is all terrain, baby.
Troy, you can't take you can't drive that in here. It's all terrain, dummy. Sorry, that's a Community reference. Anyways, we have a shot where Austin and Dee basically go off and work together on this. So much so that they're confirming numbers with each other, which is sort of why they both get it wrong, because when they get to the coconuts, Austin and Dee, Dee says I got 43. Austin says I got 42. Dee recounts and says, okay, no, that's 42. Turns out that was 43.
Well, I feel like the right way to do that is one of you tries 43 and one of you tries 42.
Yeah.
Why did they do the same numbers?
Yeah. Well, seemingly either they did the same numbers or they were standing next to each other, realized they got it wrong, or maybe they got the crabs, or maybe they got the bamboo wrong. That's what made me think, like, maybe they got another number wrong. Because surely Dee would have then put in 43, Anyways, everyone else is basically separate. Julie doesn't get the numbers as fast as everybody else, as we said. She's sort of slowing down, but she's like, that's fine. Jake, speaking of survivor knowledge, Jake uses his survivor knowledge to put together his sort of way of remembering what the numbers were is he put together who the winner of that season was. I cannot tell you off the top of my head who those winners were, but I know Gabler was with the 43.
Yeah.
He was like, Gabler.
Jake is a survivor nerd.
He's like, Gabler, coconuts.
He's a little nutty.
He's a little nutty. A good way to a nice way to describe Gabler is he's a little nutty. But yeah, he just sort of uses his survivor knowledge to try to remember the code. He gets it right, which is even more important. And Jake wins. He gets an advantage going into the immunity challenge. So good on Jake. We were feeling good for Jake here. Jake has a very tumultuous episode, I would argue.
Yeah, it just tugs at your heartstrings.
Yeah, real roller coaster for Jake this episode.
You kept shouting at Jake to hide a coconut.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan, if Ryan was on Survivor, just know, if you're ever on Survivor and you're on an island with Ryan, he would play dirty.
Yeah.
He wanted Jake to hide a coconut.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, was like, if Jake gets the number or whatever, he should just pick up a coconut and throw it into the woods or something, or throw it in the water or something, because I don't recall anything in the it's Taskmaster logic is what it is being. It's Taskmaster logic. There's no, I don't think there was anything in the rules saying I couldn't pick up or touch any of these objects, so I would just pick up a coconut and then throw it into the forest, so that I am the only person that knows, hey, there are 43 coconuts, and everyone else is going to count 42 and constantly get it wrong. But I'm always one. I always plus one at all. That's what I would have done, because I'm as the kids say, a meanie.
I think that you would play dirty.
Look, Jake, because Jake talked about it, he's like, you got to do anything, and I was in my moment. I'm like, look, I'm fighting for $1 million at this point. If I have to, all I can do is throw a coconut into the forest to win $1 million. I'm gonna be throwing that coconut, which is I have that on a throw pillow. I'm gonna
throw the coconut.
I'm gonna be throwing that. It's the Black Eyed Peas song. I'm gonna be throwing that nut.
I'm gonna be throwing that nut.
I'm gonna be throwing that Gabler. Milli Vanilli. Immunity challenge. We get to the immunity challenge for the final 5. It's also a reward where they get sanctuary for 2. Steak dinner with potatoes and wine or whatever. I think the producers are trying to put together another date night here.
I think they know they missed their opportunity. I think that helicopter ride to the Sandspit was a romantic picnic with a third wheel.
Yeah. This is a date while the other one was a romantic picnic.
Yeah. This is definitely more formal.
Mm-hmm. The immunity challenge, there's so much involved with this. Crawl under an obstacle, dig up a machete, break a piece of rope to cut down a bunch of sandbags and coconuts, but get the sandbags. Toss those sandbags into baskets. The baskets will roll up a flag. The flag shows numbers, different numbers. Those are put into a code puzzle where you get the code puzzle, you undo it, and it gets you a key. You take the key, you climb up the tower, and then and then use the key to unlock 3 puzzle bags to build 3 tower levels.
Monkey underpants.
What?
Gilmore Girls fans will get that reference.
All right. So
monkey underpants.
Just so much stuff going on here. Jake's advantage going into this is that when he gets to the sandbag portion, 2 of his sandbag flag things are already done, so he just has to throw sandbags into the closest one, and he gets it. Quite an advantage indeed.
Well,
on paper, it's quite the advantage. Jake and Austin, I would say, Austin gets to a good lead, followed by Jake. Jake gets to the code first, thanks to his advantage. I'm sort of skipping that. I don't have a lot of notes on this, but sort of just Jake and Austin are really dominating here. Yeah.
Well, I had a note on the beginning, but you just skipped over that.
Oh, sure. So, what was your note up in the beginning?
That Jeff keeps saying it's the biggest stakes of Survivor 45.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, there's some nice, juicy, medium-rare steaks waiting for them at Sanctuary.
Yeah. In case you're wondering, I think that's all. I wrote down.
Perfect. Austin and Jake get to an early lead. Jake takes over because his advantage allows him to. He gets the sandbags. He throws it in. He's able to move on to the code. Austin finishes second there. Jake solves the code as Austin's getting to it, and he undoes it. And then he forgets the key.
Well, he runs all the way up the platform.
Yes, he climbs the tower all the way up to the top. And as soon as he gets to the top, he turns around and says, I forgot the key.
Well, because Jeff is going, and Austin grabs his key.
Yeah. First of many.
He's trying to get Jake to turn around.
First of many dumb mistakes for Jake this episode. So he forgets the key, ultimately losing his lead because as he's climbing back down the tower, the whatever, Austin has his key and is climbing up the tower. So Jake ultimately completely loses his lead. He goes back down and gets his key. Everyone's at the tower. Julie's really behind, but she catches up at the actual tower puzzle. She's doing pretty good at the puzzle here. She was just too slow, really. It's really between Austin and Jake ultimately, though. Both are at the third final section of their tower. Jake's putting his pieces together, but something doesn't quite work, and that's because, little does he know, he is missing a piece. He is completely out of his eyesight. He is behind the circle tower platform that he has to put on last. He does not see it. The editors are really making it known. Buddy, you forgot this. It was there the entire time. So much so that even at the end, Jeff lets them know it was here the entire time.
You gotta kick him while he's down.
Kick him while he's down a little bit. But I'd rather have Jeff tell him instead of Jake finding out, as we all find out last night. So Jake misses the piece out of eyesight. Austin gets the win ultimately. He does choose Jake for the Sanctuary. Not as be romantic or beautiful or date-like if he took D, but there was some sort of catharsis with picking Jake because Jake.
Poor Jake. And it gets worse.
It gets worse. But what do you think about this challenge? What do you think about Jake here? I think that if I had to sum up Jake's entire gameplay, it is that Jake is a guy that's always wanting to make moves and solve the puzzle the fastest. The problem is that Jake, this entire game, is always missing one piece of the puzzle. What do you think about Jake's performance in this challenge?
I mean, I think you summed it up pretty well. It was heartbreaking. Just Just so close.
Yeah.
Would he have solved the puzzle faster than Austin? I don't know. But he was getting there. Like, he was keeping up with him.
Yeah, if he was able to get that puzzle piece, I think there's a possibility that he could have won.
Or if he hadn't dropped his key.
Oh, if he hadn't have dropped his key... Well, that's the thing.
Because he was doing pretty well, and it didn't, from what we could tell, didn't look like he was looking over as much as other people were at what Austin was doing.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was pretty much solving it himself.
Because he pretty much caught up to Austin on the puzzle.
Yeah.
And you know, if he didn't drop his key and didn't leave it behind and everything, he would have had more time on the puzzle and maybe more time to figure out, oh, I'm missing this third piece or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, Jake.
Or if he didn't miss the third piece at all and was still behind and still dropped his key, maybe he still could have beaten Austin because he was able to at least catch up. And he solved the third tower he solved the third tower bit fairly quickly. It was just sort of like something's off, something's missing, and he just could never figure it out. But it wasn't, it's not his fault. Well, I guess it is his fault, but
yeah.
So really bad day.
Tried.
Really bad day. Really great morning of Jake getting advantage and then squandering it completely and missing a piece of the puzzle, leading to an Austin victory.
Yeah.
So Austin gets his second immunity win, and he picks Jake as they go into Sanctuary. We go to this losers camp first. The losers camp, the women's camp, I guess you could say, with Katurah, Julie, and Dee. Katurah wants Dee out, says that she needs to grovel to Julie, and so she talks to Julie alone about, hey, we should vote out Dee. Julie disagrees, says that she wants Jake out, someone that she's been wanting to get out for a millennia, it feels like. Never been able to because everyone else, really arguably Dee and Drew maybe, have always wanted to get out someone else. And she's like, well, I wanted to get out Jake. Can we get out Jake?
This is my chance.
This could be my Jake. And Julie's decision about wanting to also get out Jake is that she thinks that the jury will appreciate loyalty. Which kind of goes back into what Jeff said at the top of the episode of numbers versus loyalty. What matters most to the jury? And Julie at least thinks it's loyalty. So Julie kind of convinces Katurah to vote out Jake a little bit here. Dee is down with voting out Jake because, it's not going to be the three of them. I think ultimately here Dee is just sort of agreeing with Katurah because Dee is probably still like thinking to herself, I want to vote out Katurah anyways. We get to the boys' date. This isn't a boys' night. This is a boys' date. Austin reveals that he brought Jake here not for any sort of real, bonding experience with Jake at this point. He brought it for strategy purposes. So he brought Jake so that he can wine and dine him, basically, and get all the information he can. Little does he know that this is also kind of Jake's plan because Jake actively reveals information, specifically that he, in fact, has an idol.
Which I initially was like, wait, why are you telling him?
Yeah, I was like, terrible idea, Jake. What are you doing?
But, he wants to do something flashy with his idol.
Yeah, it became very obvious that it was like, oh, he wants to do... Well, he talked about when he got it, is that he wants to do something flashy with this idol. He just doesn't know what yet. So
his tactic is to not get votes on him because he's going to play his idol for himself.
Have everyone convinced that he's going to play his idol so no one will put votes on him. So he's automatically safe in a way.
Do you think it would have been flashier, I guess? Do you think it would have worked out better if he had not told anyone about his idol? They voted for him and then he played his idol and he picked who went home?
Probably. That would have been the safer bet. Now, would that have happened? I think Dee and Austin would have still talked about voting Katurah.
That's true.
I think Dee still would have wanted to vote for Katurah, and then she would have tried to convince Julie, and Julie would probably still vote Jake. I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like it's maybe he didn't feel like the votes were going to be on him.
He wanted to do this grand. I mean, that's part of it. Is that that's part of Jake's entire thing? Is that he always wants to do this grand plan, but there is but his grand plans are not simple enough. They're too complicated.
Yeah.
A simple thing is just get all the votes on you, and then make yourself safe, and you decide, maybe you and another person decide who's going home. And in his case, it would have been, I think if he just decided, it would have been just like Julie or something.
Yeah.
I think. Because Jake in this moment says that he wants Julie out. And Austin sort of disagrees with that idea. And I guess that's the part, is that even Austin says, I don't know if we should get out Julie. So it would have probably had Austin, if they didn't talk about the idol and it was just like Jake being like, I'm going to get Julie out, and Austin be like, I don't know if Julie's the right idea, then he and Dee would have talked about Katora anyways.
True.
So Austin tells Dee about Jake's idol, starts spreading that knowledge around. They both look towards Katora as the vote. Jake and Katora talk about voting out Julie. Jake also shows Katora his idol, again, to spread out that knowledge. Katora says that they should blindside Dee. This is sort of a start of a interesting move. So obviously the right now, the votes are on Katora v. Julie. Katora, however, sees this opportunity of, what if we don't get Julie out? What if instead, Jake, we got out Dee? I think she has a good chance of winning the immunity challenge the next episode. That gives her 3 immunity challenge wins. She has strong relationships. She's a great social player. I think she can easily win. She gets in. She picks Austin. Then you and me, and we vote. And Julie. If we vote at Julie here, then Dee could win. Then she brings Austin with her, and then you and I are making fire, and one of us is going home. Essentially predicting, not even essentially, exactly predicting the entire finale and how it will play out right in front of Jake. And Jake thinks about it and says, that all makes sense. That all sounds plausible. Let's go with your plan. Put a pin in that. Any other notes I had? Julie doesn't believe that Jake's idol is real.
She never does.
She never believes Jake. What is interesting is that, like, she doesn't believe Jake's idol is real, but Dee is the one that told her. But Dee even said something like, well, he could be like lying or something. He could be making it up, which is interesting because the person that Dee was told from was Austin, and Austin said specifically, he showed it to me. It was legit. Because Austin had one of those immunity idols before. He knows exactly what it looks like. So he saw it and was like, it was legit. Then Dee tells Julie, it could be fake. he could be lying.
Yeah.
Is she guessing? That was an interesting moment to me, and it sparked. It doesn't ultimately matter because Julie votes Jake and Jake gets 1 vote and he doesn't go home. Like, no, none of that really matters. But it's just that train of events is very interesting to me because it's like, was Dee assuming Austin was lying to her? You know what I mean? Like, what was happening there? I guess it ultimately doesn't matter, but I was just confused what was happening there.
I wonder if she just didn't think that Austin... Like, I think she maybe thinks that he tricked Austin.
Yeah. Somehow.
I don't know.
Even though Austin... Or maybe she didn't hear that Austin was like, oh yeah, it's legit. Anyways, basically no one knows what to do. The votes are all over the place. Julie's looking at... I think you wrote down the potential possibilities of who people were going to vote for.
Yeah, it was... Julie was most likely going to be on Jake, possibly going to be Katora. Dee was voting for Katora. Katora was voting for Dee. Jake was voting for Dee. Austin was voting for probably Julie or Katora. Mm-hmm. I think he was leaning toward Julie.
Yeah, he was sort of unsure what he should do.
Yeah.
Going into Tribal.
I mean, yeah.
There's a moment right before they leave for Tribal where Jake and Katora talk to each other, and Jake is just like, I'm going with the plan. I'm going to vote for Dee. Even though I originally wanted Julie out, I'm going to go with Dee. Your plan makes sense. Do you trust me? And Katora's like, I don't trust those eyes. And Jake's eyes are real rough in this episode. But he's like, what do you want me to swear on? I'll swear on anything. I'll do it. And he's like, and then she has him swear on his mother. I swear on Nana or grandmother. I don't know who Nana is. But swear on Nana. He swears on his Nana that I'm voting for Dee, and that you're making back to here, and all this stuff. But Katora's like, I don't still don't know if I trust Jake, but I don't know. And we use that knowledge to get into Tribal Council. Oh, Katora. we get to Tribal Council. Not much I got from really the Tribal Council here. I just wrote down that Jeff calls out Jake's troubles in the immunity challenge and everything. There's nothing really...
Yeah, thanks for recapping that, Jeff.
Yeah, the great line from Jake. Thanks for recapping that, Jeff. I don't really have anything from the Tribal Council. I don't know if you picked up anything really fun here. It's one of those things of like, this is sort of like a lame duck Tribal Council where it's just sort of like nothing about this Tribal Council really matters this early in the episode because we're all sort of like, all right, let's get to the finale.
And ultimately, none of it really matters anyway. Well, like none of the stuff that happened during Tribal, because like
I guess actually, I mean, what happens in the Tribal is very important to what happens because this Tribal ultimately decides who wins the game.
No, I mean like during like the talking portion.
Yeah, that's fair. So let's get to the votes then. That's the more interesting topic. So the votes are everyone's, Katora, Dee, Jake, Julie all pick up votes, but during the voting process for Katora says to camera that I am changing my vote. I believe she says because she doesn't trust Jake. Mm-hmm. So she changes her vote. Again, her vote was going to be D. She decides, I'm not going to vote for D. I'm going to vote for someone else. We find out that she ultimately votes for Julie. And Jake plays his idol like his plan was, plays it for Katora. Katora is safe. She only picks up one vote, however. As many votes as Jake.
There was a chance it was going to be 2.
There was a chance it was going to be 2, but she ends up picking up 1 vote, as many votes as Jake receives. And then D flips. Katora flips on the plan, which was her plan. Goes against Jake and doesn't trust him for some reason. And instead votes out Julie, goes with Jake's plan in a weird way, and Julie is eliminated from Survivor.
I have many thoughts on this.
Go right ahead, Beanie.
Because everyone voted how they said they were going to vote except for Katora.
Yeah.
How does changing to Julie affect anything? Is it because ultimately, I guess it's because we know the numbers. Does she think that there are votes on her and that most people are voting for Julie? And if she gets tricked into voting for D, then there will be more votes on her than there are on Julie?
Well,
is that what she thinks? Does she think D and Austin are voting for Julie and Jake are voting for Katora? And if Katora votes for D, then it's a tie between Katora and Julie and they have to revote?
She makes a point in the post-Julie vote conversation that her flip was sort of self-preservation.
I'm trying to understand how, though.
I understand. I'm just saying what her reasoning was. It was self-preservation. But how was it self-preservation? She must have thought that... I don't know. Because who was the other person that voted for Julie? Austin?
Yeah.
Yeah, so... she must have thought that... how would it have been self-preservation? Because it would have been 2 votes on D, and now it's 1 vote on D, 2 votes on Julie. But she doesn't necessarily know that Julie's getting a vote from Austin.
Unless she does, and she thinks that because Austin's voting for Julie, then D is voting for Julie.
And maybe she thinks that Jake is also going to vote Julie and not for D. And that's why she doesn't trust Jake, so Jake's just not going to go with her plan and still go with Julie. So she's instead flipping to Julie to just be on the siding on the numbers with Jake. And then she comes to find out it's also Austin. In that case, it would have been, if Jake did flip, it would have been 3 on Julie.
But she said that if she had known she was safe, she would have gone with the plan. So clearly she thinks that she was getting votes.
Yeah.
So does she think that Julie and Jake are going for her?
If she thought she was getting votes, then flipping wouldn't have mattered no matter what, right? Because she would have gotten 3 votes.
Unless she thought it was 2 on her and 2 on Julie. And if she voted D, then it's a tie between her and Julie and they have to revote. But if she just goes with Julie, then Julie's out and she doesn't have to worry about a revote.
Or if she, okay, let's say Julie's voting Jake. That's what she wants to do. Maybe they all kind of knew that this idea that she's voting on Jake. Katurah gets 2 votes from Dee and Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Dee gets 2 votes from Jake and Julie. Katurah thinks Jake is lying and is probably going to flip to voting on Julie instead. So, in that case, it will be 2 on Katurah, 1 on Dee, 1 on Julie. To make sure that she doesn't go home then, she then has to flip to Julie because she thinks Jake is going to flip to Julie.
Well, she said, I think this is where everyone's voting.
Yeah.
So she clearly thinks that
Julie was going to vote for her. What I laid out only makes sense with 4 votes, and assuming Julie is just voting for Jake and going her own rogue style. It only makes sense if that's known by everybody.
But also, if she thinks everyone's voting, she must have thought that Jake was going to vote for her and Julie was going to vote for her, because obviously Julie's not going to vote for herself. And that Austin and Dee were voting for Julie, and that she needed to put a 3rd vote on Julie in order to not be in danger.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe. But even then, even what if I laid out, assuming she knew about Julie, by flipping to Jake, she thinks in that case it would still then be 2-2 Katurah and Julie, and then it's, a revote. Julie basically has to vote on between Katurah or herself. I was good because Julie would be the only person that voted not of those 2 of the 2 majority vote people, so they would re-vote. And assuming everyone picks the same person, Julie's the only vote that has to change. So she's either voting for herself or voting for Katurah, which means Katurah's going home. Unless they somehow convince unless they all somehow convince everybody to change their vote again to D or something. It was a self-preservation, but a move that was incredibly dumb because ultimately, again, Dee would have gone home here if Katurah stuck with the plan.
And it's ironic that the move of self-preservation is actually what did her in.
Not only did her in, but it was the move for $1 million.
Yeah.
It was the move that killed her game completely. It was already getting bad. It was already not really much
from
of
what we've seen, yeah.
From what we've seen. But it ultimately is the move that gets Dee specifically the win. Because Dee would have gotten eliminated here, and then what would have happened after that? If Dee goes home here, which is the next part 2 of this conversation I want to have, if Dee goes home here, what does the rest of the game look like?
I don't know. I think there's a chance that Julie could have won that challenge.
I agree. I think Jake still would have broken it.
Yeah.
I think Austin. I think how it played out for everybody else is how it would have played out. It's just a matter of would Julie have faltered like everybody else, and then it's anybody's game.
I don't know. She's been steady. She's not
incredibly
the fastest,
steady,
but she is steady.
And that's what you have to be: is not really the fastest and just incredibly steady. You have to move quickly, but you have to move with precision. And I think Julie can do that.
Yeah, and that's one of those challenges that as soon as you got a decent tower and the next closest person fucks up, you have a sizable lead and you can just take your time, which is what Dee did, was able to take her time and really focus on it, because all she had to do was not knock it down.
Exactly.
Everyone else had to start over.
In which case, let's say Julie wins it, right? Julie wins it. Who would she take with her?
She's not taking Austin. She wouldn't take Jake.
So
I think she would make Austin and Jake make fire.
Yeah. So then she's bringing Katurah with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be true.
Well, because she wanted Jake out the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't think she would bring him with it.
That would be the opportunity to get Jake out.
I think she also recognizes that Austin's a threat, and if there's a chance that he doesn't sit next to her in the final 3.
Yeah.
Because she did want to get him out.
And of how the fire making would have gone, Austin would have won that easily. Because Jake was so bad at it that Austin helped him. So in this situation, Austin wouldn't have helped him. And Katurah wouldn't be able to help Jake. Maybe Julie. I don't know. I don't think Julie wants to get Jake out, so Jake wouldn't get any additional help. He would probably go home against Austin. And then the final 3 is Julie, Katurah, and Austin.
Yeah. I think there's also the argument of, do you just bring Austin so that, Dee said, he doesn't get that extra badge to bring with him?
Then in that case, I don't know if she's going to put Katurah against Jake. does Julie's fire making, which we have no idea, is Julie's fire making better than Jake's? That she herself can finally knock out Jake. She gets that sort of thing across her, badge across her lapel. And then she knocks out Jake, and then it's her, Austin, and Katurah. And I think Julie can win it. Katurah gets in final 3, but I think Julie in that case wins the game.
People love Mama J.
Yeah. The only other scenario here, obviously, is Julie doesn't win the immunity challenge at the final 4, and someone else wins it. But I don't know who. Yeah. If she dropped it, then it would have been anybody's game, and who the heck knows. I think Austin was catching up because he dropped it first before Katurah, so Austin could have won. If Austin wins, he would have brought, I don't know, someone. I don't know who Austin would have really gone with. I think Austin maybe would have brought Julie. Maybe.
Yeah. I think we can both agree, though, that Jake saying he had an idol was more of a play, more of an effective play than actually playing his idol.
Yes, 100%. His idol play here is so useless.
Poor guy.
Him having the idol exist ensured that he got the same vote as the person he ultimately saves. So it's like it is as good as it was as good as you just saying you had. It was as good as you saying you had an idol, but it being fake. You know what I mean?
What also could have been an effective, more effective than playing it for Katurah?
What's that?
Telling everyone you had an idol and that you're going to play it, not getting votes on you, and not playing the idol. Interesting. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's better than what happened.
Yeah. It's ultimately, it is. Yeah, I guess it could be better. I mean, the best decision would have been just try to get as many votes on yourself as possible. And then.
Yeah. But if you're going to go with his plan of telling people you have an idol so that they don't vote for you, I think the more play is you just don't play it. You didn't need to play it. You just used the power of the idol to get people to not vote for you, and then you didn't play it. It's not the best. I don't think it's the best plan, but I think it's better than playing it on Katurah, who only had 1 vote and ultimately ended up stabbing him in the back.
What's also interesting is that I think if Jake didn't play Jake didn't tell anyone about the idol, I think it would have been Dee and Austin voting Katurah. I think it would have been Julie and Katurah voting Jake, and then Jake would have voted for Katurah, got himself safe, and Katurah would have gone home.
Yeah.
There's no chance.
There's just no, yeah.
There's no way.
But, shoot, what was I going to say? Something about back to him playing his idol.
Jake playing his idol.
Not playing his idol. Oh, hold on.
She's thinking.
Shit.
No?
I had a good thought. Hold on.
Here, I'll play some hold music.
So, when Katurah said, "Why didn't you tell me about the idol?"
Yes, so that post vote is where that we get that conversation. But continue.
Oh.
No, go. No, that's perfect. It sets me up perfectly for the next bit. I
think he played it as well as he could have without saying, well, because if I feel like maybe this is my perspective. I wonder if he felt the same way.
Sure.
If he had told Katurah, every time you tell Katurah something and you tell her not to tell somebody, she tells somebody else.
Yes.
Because
she would have used that knowledge against Jake somehow.
Yeah. She's, as she should be, she was playing with her own best interests. Yeah. She's not going to play into a plan that, doesn't serve her game.
Exactly.
So, I mean, this one does, and it was her plan. So I feel like he probably could have trusted her with it because it was her plan. But would she have taken that knowledge and gone back to Julie and been like, he's not going to play it on himself. We need to flip to Jake.
Yeah, we need to get as many votes on Jake because he's going to play it on me or something.
Yeah, and I could see Jake not wanting to tell her because of that, and B, not wanting to say, well, I didn't trust you. But when she was like, I didn't trust you, he could have been like, well, I didn't trust you. That's why I didn't tell you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also very plausible because what that is to me is Jake and Katora fighting over not being the ones getting voted on. And which is very Reba 4 versus everybody else.
Yeah, which is the theme of the season.
They're all fighting against each other while Reba's in the back being like, all right.
They're like, fight.
Yeah,
fight.
They're in charge of the fight. They're running the Emperor thumbs up, thumbs down style.
Yeah, they're like, hit him in the face.
You sort of bring up that post-Julie vote.
Kick his ankles.
Jake spills the bean to everybody about Katora's flip, about how the plan was. It was Katora's plan to vote out D. She instead voted out Julie. He doesn't know why. He's very upset by it. Jake's pissed. Katora thought it was self-preservation, as we sort of went into, but her argument basically was kind of flawed. It doesn't.
Well, because she knows she did exactly what she didn't want to happen, and she's
now has to sit in it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, because we get to the immunity challenge next up. The immunity challenge is that you have to. What did I write here? Move bowls. Bowls, I'm missing the L. Move bowls across a perch, sort of like this wired perch, and stack said bowls. We've sort of seen variations of this game before. If you kick the perch, if you kick or nudge or whatever the perch, it's connected to the platform that the bowls are sitting on. So if you kick it or knock it over, the bowls will be knocked over, and you have to start all over again. Stack 17 bowls, and then you win immunity and go straight into the final 3, presumably.
Oh. I think my first comment when this started was, Jake's not going to do well at this. He's not the most graceful.
No, he's not.
But then...
That was a fact. That was a fact.
But then he did pretty well for a while. And I was like, wow, he's doing much better than I thought he would, because he's not the most graceful, agile person. And then...
Yeah, Austin stumbles twice.
He made me eat my words.
Jake and Dee are doing really well, but ultimately Jake drops it at like 13 or something bowls.
My favorite quote was, big wobble, but no damage. I was like, that's what she said.
I think that was like D. I think that was about D. Yeah, Jake drops it at like 13 or 14 bowls. He tries to be quick about it. The first time he's like kind of moving through it and grabbing some bowls and he's trying to be dainty. The second time through, he doesn't care. He's just stepping on the wire and the perch the entire time, just being like, who cares? It'll support. It's fine. Jeff is in the corner being like, Jake, don't do it. Jeff is like, Jake, stop.
If you break it, you're out. If you break it, you buy it.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, don't do it. Because Jeff knows that he's about to break the thing. And then ultimately, Jake breaks that corner piece off of the perch. The perch is now unusable. And Jeff says, Jake, you're out. You broke the thing. You're out. You're disqualified. Jake's pissed. He says something about, sorry I was moved quick or something. I thought it would hold me, and Jeff makes a comment of like, no, man, that's on you. That's on you. Jeff kind of gets a little mad at Jake in this moment of just like, nah, man, you screwed up.
Yeah.
It wasn't the game. It was you.
And he knows he did. He was just mad in the moment.
Jake very upset, very mad at the end of this.
He made me eat my words because I was like, wow, he's doing much better than I thought.
Yeah. And then he drops it and then just completely DQs himself by breaking the challenge. Ultimately, this leads to a D victory. She has, as Jeff put it, actually, the major stumblage, but no damage.
Big wobble, no damage.
Big wobble, no damage. Is that the name of the episode?
Big wobble, yes.
Big wobble, no damage.
She's in the power position now.
She's in the official power position. Not many power positions this episode. Enough with upsetting. There's so many people that had potential power positions, but no one really fully took advantage of that position. So yeah, D wins. Jake is very upset. D now has the power of going into the final 3 very easily. She can take someone with her, meaning that 2 people will have to make fire. So she basically chooses who's making fire. So her sort of strategy, as she says, is that she'll talk to everybody. But before she talks to everybody, her basic idea is that I wanted to take Austin into the final 3, and I think Jake can beat Katora at firemaking. That's sort of the idea. There's this moment between Jake and Dee where Jake just sort of... and also in his interviews, Jake completely breaks down, sobbing, crying, like almost like just uncontrollable Jake here. Very...
got me a lot of points.
when Jessie sees in real life, when Jessie sees someone's crying, she's like, ooh, a lot of points. Jake breaks down. He kind of admits that everything he's done in the game is a failure. He's being very hard on himself.
Listen,
it's kind of true.
He's breaking my heart here.
Yeah, this is a very emotional moment in Jake. He's sort of admitting that he's like kind of sucked at this game, which is kind of true. He admits that every plan he's had was kind of a failure and didn't go his way, which is accurate to what happened.
He's gonna win the "I tried so hard but got not far"
the Lincoln Park Award. He tried so hard but got so far.
But got not far.
And he tells Dee, after all this, that, hey, guess what? I want to go into the fire. Please put me in the fire. I need to win this. And Dee says, yeah, he wants to go out with pride. He wants to go out with some sort of win underneath his belt. So Jake volunteers to go under the fire because after all the failures he has, he wants a win. He needs a win. And that's sort of what you get here.
I needs it, my precious.
Dee and Katora talk. Dee basically tells her, yeah, I'm probably going to put you in the fire. And Katora's like, but why? And Dee's like, I'm kind of scared of sitting next to you.
Santa Claus, why?
Dee basically tells her that you should take that as a compliment. And I was like, no, I mean, yeah, you're a threat. I don't want to face you.
But she's wishing she trusted Jake now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a moment I thought about that same idea of like in this moment, Dee's like, yeah, I'm gonna put you in fire. You're a big threat. You're a compliment, and you should take it as a compliment. And I'm very scared of you, and I don't want to sit next to you. And Katora, I think, is also thinking to herself in this moment, I should have voted you.
Yeah, and
I'm going to fire now.
How ironic that the person that she should have trusted to carry out her plan is the person that she now has to face to get into the final three.
Yeah, exactly.
You done fucked up, kid.
Yeah. The problem is also in hindsight, knowing how good Austin is and knowing what happens with Jake here, and if Austin trains Jake, then Jake can win. Is there any situation where Katora could have won fire making against anybody else? I don't really know. It would have been maybe against Dee, maybe against Julie, but she was so bad that I don't think Julie and Dee were that bad. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think Katora.
I don't think we ever saw Julie making fire. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know how they are, but based on how Katora's performance was and how bad she was at it, I think it's sort of like, there's really no way. It really comes down to like if she goes in the fire, she loses. That's how bad she is.
We forgot to talk about Mama J and Katora's moment when she gave her a hug.
Oh,
yeah. Said go to law school.
Yes. At tribal council, when Julie goes home, Julie goes up to Katora and like, can I say something real quick? And she says, you should go to law school. You're so great at this.
Melted. And then there's a moment that we need to talk about later that I cried.
She also turns in that same moment, turns to Dee and tells Dee to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
So very Mama J. Great Mama J. She's telling Katora to go to law school. Yeah. Not unbeknownst to her. Which is also funny because no one knows that she's a lawyer. So this is a lawyer that no one knows about telling another lawyer that no one knows about, you should go to law school. You're great at this.
That must have been really affirming for her to hear.
Which is Katora mentions we'll talk about it, I guess we'll talk about it here. So Katora ultimately loses at the fire making. Skip ahead completely.
Okay, maybe we don't skip it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Okay, so that's my bad, but we'll pin.
We'll pin that. We'll pin it. So Dee says that she's gonna put Katora. Katora's upset for predicting it might have gone this way and flipping her vote. And says, and in very interesting ways that she says that she has to win and she needs to fuel herself to win. And she mentions that like if she wins, that will set Dee so much. Ooh, that's so good. Stuff like that. And I just turned to you and I said, it's very interesting that Katora's game, this entire thing, like what fuels a lot of Katora is like, I don't want to say hatred, but competitive disdain or whatever against someone else.
Like what the reaction will be for the other person.
What the negative reaction will be of another person. Yeah. Oh, it will upset Dee if I win, and that will fuel me to get the fire. Oh, I don't like Bruce. I want to get Bruce at the entire time, and that's my whole thing. Like her whole thing, what fuels Katora a lot emotionally in a weird way is like, being against someone,
Yeah.
which also knowing her backstory as we sort of dived into this season is fascinating. Is that like, her, what feels kind of her is being against someone, knowing that she sort of had grown up in this cult, almost got married away at like 14 or something, super young age, worked her entire childhood, and then it, sort of had to prove everyone wrong, become a lawyer and do all this stuff, and then turns her mother away or for whatever reason in the past year or so. And then coming here, like everything about Katora just like fascinates me. It's like that what drives her is like being against something or someone is so fascinating to me. Austin and D have a conversation. Oh, sorry, you had another point about Katora?
No.
Okay. Austin and D have a conversation. Austin says that Jake sucks at making fire and that he should be put in.
I don't know that he sucks.
He's not great.
But here's the thing. I think the more Jake needs to do something, the more flustered he gets and the more he fucks it up.
He's too focused. He gets too focused on something, and he's really bad at it because he's so focused on like.
Well, he's so focused on the stakes and not on what he's doing.
Jake, maybe that's the Jake story as well. Not only that he misses every Mises, he misses every piece of the puzzle. The bigger thing is Jake is very easily susceptible to pressure.
Yes, like when he heckles Jeff and then gets out of the challenge.
Anytime he's under pressure, he falters, seemingly. And that's bad. That's bad in this game, Jake. Jack O'Kane. Huh? So Austin tries to convince D to put him in instead of Jake. Austin sort of recognizes that this would be a good thing for him and his game, and maybe and understands that maybe that's why D wouldn't put me in.
Which is 100% why she didn't put him in.
Mm-hmm. Austin does help Jake make a fire, and then we get basically to the Tribal Council. The Tribal Council, Jeff really hypes up D's third win here. Katora tells her quote-unquote hidden moves story and about how that's sort of her game is her hidden moves,
which gets a visceral reaction from Emily.
And Julie also has like a weird reaction as well. The jury doesn't really like it. So already, like Katora, you can see what she's doing here is that she's setting up her story for the jury if she's able to make it through.
Yeah.
That her story is that she's trying to set up a Gabler-esque story of hidden moves. But already you can see the jury, unlike Gabler, the jury does not buy it here, at least with Emily and potentially Julie. Do you think it would have worked, her hidden moves, Gabler-esque gameplay of, I was always on the right side of the numbers? That was a Gabler move.
I think she would have to have some concrete examples. I think this jury is more...
Emily's in there. She's going to destroy your argument if that's the case.
I think mostly Emily is going to pick apart your argument and want concrete examples.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Emily would have destroyed her.
But
does she have any concrete examples?
Well, we don't know because they didn't show us any.
Fair. Which in that case I would assume is no, because if she made it and made that argument, then we would have had this.
Well, ultimately she didn't make it to the final three. Yeah. So like had she, maybe they would have included in the edit a little bit more.
If she had some.
Yeah. But like, I'm not gonna say like she didn't have any because we just didn't see it, and we didn't really get a chance for her to explain it to know, and ultimately because it didn't matter. Yeah.
D ultimately brings Austin into the final three with her,
and Austin says, "D, we'll be going at each other for sure." We're all like, "Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we know.
We know."
Straight to the final three with you. We get to the fire making, as we sort of talked about. Katora's really bad at it, just like insanely bad. She snuffs out her fire, smothers it 3 times. Jake lights it. Jake does a good job. He lights it. Jake ultimately wins. He's into the final 3. And Katora
I'm so happy
loses.
For him.
Yeah, good. This is what I liked about this moment is because we were watching a couple of those sort of like best moments of every season of Survivor, and I did think to myself of like what was great about this moment for Jake was sort of to me that, in a weird way, sort of like that season where the two guys were on that pole for 12 hours. I think it was like season 2 or 3 or something like that. They were on that pole for 12 hours. And the one guy drops it because he sort of has this realization, a sort of season-long realization of like, I don't want to be the villain. The $1 million isn't worth it if it means I have to be a bad guy or something like that. And I have to not be loyal. I have to backstab my friends. And it sort of becomes like the million, the things that Survivor can do great is that like at the end of the day, sometimes being a human is better than winning $1 million. And to that extent, this is sort of that moment for Jake where it's like, I don't think in this moment at all Jake is thinking about winning $1 million. I don't think Jake at all prepping for the fire making. He is thinking about winning $1 million. I think he even says as much in one of his interviews potentially. Yeah,
I think he knows going against Austin and D, he's not going to win.
Yeah.
I think he just wants to win something.
He says, I just want to win something. And going into also knowing what his tribal council, his jury conversations are about, like, persevering through failures. He's like, I failed so much in this game, but I was able to stand back up with a smile on my face, quite literally sometimes stand back up with a smile on his face and persevere through something. And ultimately getting the final win, finally a win, a finale win for Jake. It came down to, it wasn't about winning $1 million. It was about perseverance and finally getting that win.
Him.
So good for Jake.
I just wanted Jake to win something this whole damn time.
Jake also.
I mean, maybe we should add him. Hey, you did win me my Survivor fantasy cards. So.
Spoilers.
Well, I mean, just like throughout, like him crying on camera, him cursing on camera, has gotten me a lot of points.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He's accumulated quite a bit of points for me. So
that is true. There's also a nice little moment here where Jake tells Katora that she will be an amazing lawyer one day. That she should try to attempt to be a lawyer. So that is a nice, lovely second spot where seemingly, I don't know if he knows that Julie says something.
I don't think he did.
So that's fascinating.
Is that where she says, I am?
Yes. We then, after this, and then Katora's ending speech, Katora reveals that first is that Jake reveals that winning fire was the best moment in his life. Again, that breathes into what I was saying about it's not about the $1 million. It's about perseverance and moving forward through failure, and him being like, this is the best moment of my life. Katora finally reveals she's a lawyer. Big pop from the crowd. Jake is like really like, I knew it. I knew she was a lawyer. What?
No, it's a later moment.
Perfect.
Just so adorable.
We get final 3 breakfast, everyone's celebrating, and then we get sort of starting into the jury conversations with everybody. In these sort of various interviews, Caleb says he's thinking about voting for Jake. He says that Jake had the hardest path to get to this point.
He ain't wrong.
He had to get through so much to get here. Kelly says Dee did a great job. She had great social relationships the entire game. Kendra is thinking Austin because he's such a physical threat. He had strong alliances, and he was never voted on, which she said that, and I said to you, I was like, wait, has he never been voted on? And yes, in fact, Austin never received a single vote. He played, and many people in Survivor, what they call a perfect game.
Which I guess I thought that he got a vote.
Yeah, I thought he did too. I was like, surely he has.
I mean, he was definitely gonna get a vote from Julie, but she Dee made her switch to Emily.
Yeah. He was close several times to getting votes, but ultimately not a single vote. He had a perfect game. That's a lot. I remember that whole thing of Jessie and Carla, where Jessie was about to have a perfect game, and then out of spite, Carla was like, I'm ruining it, and then votes Jessie for no reason. Survivor. Bruce, in one of his 3 lines this episode, by the way.
Yeah.
He sort of says that he's an open vote. He wants someone to own who they are. Basically, he's like, acknowledge your pros, your cons, and basically own who you are. Emily, she says that Jake was treated like a pawn in a number the entire time, but he made it through. Says that he's sort of a dark horse winner here. Sort of not really saying I'm going to vote for Jake, but more of like, if Jake can win it out, it's plausible. He has an argument. It's just a matter of, can his argument be better than D and Austin's? Drew, Austin, he's thinking about Austin. He says he never got a vote. He was unscathed the entire game. Julie is thinking D. She insulated herself well and was rock solid, risked her game to save Julie, which is fair and true. Katora says that she's kind of an open vote and says that she wants to see the strongest gameplay overall in all categories. But more specifically, she doesn't want to talk about passive gameplay. She wants to make sure that what you did was active. Which to me, that read as like, I don't want a Gabler. Which I think is what Katora's argument would have been.
Right.
I don't want a Gabler. I don't want passive gameplay. I want who had the best active gameplay, who was actively playing out there. We get to the Tribal Council. Tribal Council, I have various questions and various answers from people. So if you have any thoughts, of course, Beanie, interrupt me. But we have been going for an hour and 50 minutes, so I will be kind of slightly moving. Kendra, sort of an open mind, wants to know, how did you play this game, ultimately? But it's less, I guess it was less, how did you play this game, or is what got you into playing this game, or any of this stuff? Because no one really answers how they played this game, more of just like, why? Jake says... ultimately, Jake says that talked about like kind of talking of his father and about you got to go out there and make sure you try to take in as much as the game as possible. He does acknowledge that he had lots of moments of sadness. He's like, I cry on the beach way too much, but ultimately I'm a survivor and I'm on Survivor. D says, again, she acknowledged her family, her parents, and she said that every day she made sure to have fun and took everything day by day. Obviously, you have like, I want to win $1 million, but she's like, I took everything day by day. Austin says, I don't think we knew this beforehand, but Austin says that he was an alternate, and he did everything he could in the game because he's like, I was an alternate. I wasn't supposed to be here, and I am. And so I made sure to do everything. Which
I remember being like, oh, Austin was the alternate. Can you imagine if he like didn't make it in the game? And your response was, his teeth are so big.
Yeah, in a moment I was like, man, his teeth are ginormous.
I was like, can you imagine if Austin wasn't in this game?
Yeah. But yeah, imagine if Austin wasn't in this game. It's the same thing if like, imagine Bruce being in season 44.
Yeah.
Of like this sort of like sliding doors sort of situation of like what the game, how radically the game would have changed. It would have been the Reba 4, It would have been whoever this other person was.
Yeah.
Who knows what the other person was. It's just very fascinating to think about.
Yeah.
Katora, a moment that terrified you is basically her question.
Which... This is my favorite moment in all Tribal. It was like a small little thing. He goes, thank you, counselor. And she responded, and it was like...
Yeah, Jake responds to Katora saying, thank you, counselor. And she's like...
I forget what she said.
She's like, you're welcome. It was very sweetly.
But like, it was just that interaction and the way she reacted was just like so sweet. It was like such a cute little inside moment.
Wholesome. It was very wholesome.
So wholesome.
And again,
it felt very genuine. It was so cute that that made me cry.
Oh, going back to it, because
he was like, it was like Big Brother energy.
It was Big Brother energy, and that's Jake ultimately.
Yeah. Like, thank you, counselor.
There was also a moment. I want to circle back with Katora revealing that she was a lawyer. She says that like she said that like Julie told her like, oh, you should be a lawyer, and like I wanted to play this as just Katora, not lawyer Katora, because that obviously has its own baggage. And she says that like Katora 5 years ago would have loved hearing from Julie, you should be a lawyer one day and all this stuff, and she would have loved it. And like in that moment, she doesn't know that Julie's a lawyer.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that like she's like saying like basically like from a mother figure, a maternal, again, playing Katora's insane backstory. Oh, sort of a maternal figure being like, you should be a lawyer one day, and she said, I would have loved hearing that, which maybe that played into whatever her relationship with her mother is. This sort of idea of like, oh yeah, a mother is saying this. Meanwhile, not knowing at all Oh, yeah. She's Julie, also a lawyer. She's not saying like, oh, as a mother, you should be a lawyer. She's saying, no, as a fellow lawyer, you're great at this. I want you on my side. So, yeah, moment that terrified you from Couture. Austin and Dee basically say the same thing. They said the blindsiding was terrifying for them. Austin says that he voted for Julie at the end and voting her out. Dee blindsided the betrayal of Austin and Julie and all this stuff. She was very afraid to betray them because she wanted to be very loyal. She talks about how she didn't want to blindside her loyal people. And so much so that she never voted them out or never even wrote their name down once. Jake, as we sort of talked about, failing was his biggest fear, but he knew he would always make it through and stand back up with that smile on his face.
I think that maybe it has to do with like Jake knowing he's not winning $1 million.
Yeah.
But Austin and Dee both gave like perfect answers, you know, when they're like, what's your biggest weakness? And you're like, perfectionism. Right? Like, I'm a perfectionist. I just can't help it. Okay, I do everything perfectly.
That's
what that felt like. And Jake was like, no, I'm afraid of failure. I fail all the time, but I pushed through and I got back up, and like that felt more genuine.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like you're definitely playing your angle every time you answer a question. And I think the fact that Jake knew he wasn't winning $1 million, his answers were more just genuine. Like I'm afraid of failing.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of what Couture was looking for.
Yeah.
Like, what is something that scared you just in this game, in like coming in this experience? Because I feel like their answers were like, oh, this moment was a little scary, versus something about this inherently in this experience is terrifying and I have to push through that every day, was more of Jake's answer of like, I'm afraid of failing. And in Survivor, you fail every day. Yeah. Versus theirs was like, well, this one specific time, we did this thing that scared me, which is valid. But I think it's not what she was looking for, and I appreciated Jake's answer more than theirs.
Dee and Austin are more so like talking about like what was scary about gameplay, whereas Jake is sort of like, this is what's scary about like the human experience that Survivor brings out in people.
Yeah, this is something that is inherent to the game that it terrifies me in normal life.
Yeah, I brought into this and it became like almost true.
And I had to persevere through it. And I think that honestly, like yeah, there's more like a more diplomatic answer. And I think had Jake been fully in the running for $1 million, to me, like on the jury, I would think that's a more effective answer.
Sure.
Of like, this thing scares me on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And it's something that I experienced every day here in Survivor, but I pushed through it.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes, like, you know, being social is terrifying for people, or being afraid of, like, what people really think of you. Like, that, the idea that you have a fear that gets explored just by being on Survivor and then having to push through it, I think is way more effective of an answer. Yeah. Than, like, I was terrified of. And maybe it's like they could have dug deeper and been like, I'm afraid of people thinking, like, I'm afraid of being dishonest. And like Julie, like that might have been her answer. Is I'm terrified of being perceived as dishonest or like, you know, hurting people.
And I had to constantly do it.
Yeah. That, I think Julie, like if Julie had been on Tribal and that was her answer, I think that would have been a way better answer than I was afraid of blindsiding this, because that's deeper. I don't know. It also like shows that she's able to recognize a deeper level of like what is happening.
What the game means. Yeah. More of like the actual game
not
itself.
Not that Austin and Dee couldn't. I just think they chose.
They're talking about the text, not the meaning behind the text.
They chose a very like base level answer, which is I understand
fine.
Why.
Yeah, which is fine.
I want them to go deep.
Of course. Well, speaking about going deep, we get to the next question with Drew, where he sort of brings up Reba 4. He sort of says that a lot of this season, he could sort of pats himself on the back here, a lot of the season sort of dominated by Reba 4. But he wants to, obviously, this is the moment where we have to start separating the jury, separating the stories between Austin and Dee. Obviously, they're part of the Reba 4, so he asked them, what do they bring into that alliance?
Which is where we get Austin and Dee's first fight. Rawr. Sorry that I did that. I'm sorry, everyone.
I do have bad news.
I think it was needed.
Jessie, I don't want to be bad news bear. Rawr. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to be Bad News Bear.
Rawr.
All right. Moving on. Again, don't want to be Bad News Bear.
Rawr.
I can't. All right. I don't want to be Bad News Bear, but the Bad News Bear bit is over. Rawr.
You gotta stop doing it. You just can't say it. You can't say Bad News Bear.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Rawr.
I don't want to be Bad News Bear.
Rawr.
Hold on. Can you look at that real quick? Can you look at it? No, look back at me. Bad News Bear. All right, this Bad News Bear bit is over, so I'm sorry, Bad News Bear bit is over. I am doing the hands every time. Right.
He's doing the little claws every time, just a lot.
This is a bit I'm stealing from a comedian.
But it's so funny.
It's so very funny. All right. I don't want to be a Bad News Bear. Drew, you talked about what you brought into the Reba before. We gotta move on. I don't want to be Bad News Bear, but we gotta move on.
Stop doing it. Stop doing it. I'm crying.
Yes, you are. Let me just hit this. D says she had lots of luck because they all voted similar. Like they all sort of shared knowledge and they voted similar. Also acknowledges that they also shared a lot of knowledge, but whereas D was constantly seen as a threat inside the Reba 4, he protected the Alliance a lot more than she did.
You could see her squirming in her seat like,
she's like,
no, sir, sir, no, sir.
D says that she wasn't actually scared of ever getting voted out, and says that she relied on the strong social game of Reba 4 and being like, yeah, people were gunning for me, but I knew I was safe. Austin says that what he kind of more acknowledges the question of what Drew was asking about. The tribe swap is a moment where he helped strengthen the Reba 4 alliance. He says in that tribe swap, he and Drew got moved to another group with nobody else except for 2 Bello and 1 Lulu people. He helped bring in Emily into their alliance as an additional number in the post-merge era. He also was able to get Kelly and Kendra out in the post-merge based off of what he built here.
They should have, and this all came back to should have given the boy a damn sandwich.
Yeah, I think this is the moment where he's like, yeah, you should have given me a sandwich. Oh, no, this is when Kelly asked about the amulets and idols, I think.
I think Jeff at the end there should have brought out a sandwich just for us.
They brought out pizza, but they should have brought out one specific sandwich for us.
Just for us.
D says that she brought, like Austin, brought in Katora as an additional number, and that she got actually, I got Kendra out, not you, Austin. And then Austin then brings up that he never got voted on, so eat your farts. So yeah, this is sort of, we get that fight back and forth of like what you brought into the game. Emily says that heart alone doesn't get you a win.
No, she said heart doesn't get you a win. Sabaya said heart alone doesn't get you a win.
Yes, and I don't know. Emily sort of like, I kind of got corrected on that one, I guess. She asked D, what decision specifically did you make with your brain? Because, again, heart alone doesn't get you a win. So what do you do specifically with your brain? And Dee says that for her brain and her heart are not separate. So, her strategy basically came from her relationships. She has really good relationships with the Reba 4 people. Her strategy was then built on top of that. So, being emotional, she was in a way an emotional player in terms of having strong relationships with people, but she used those strong relationships to build off a strategy.
Well, she knew her strategy would come with that of like
come from her relationship stuff.
Yeah, like, and I see that of like,
yeah.
I think there are people that I'm like, there are people that rely too much on their alliance to inform their game and to make decisions, and like I think Dee is someone who definitely had strong alliances and was able to trust people, but as we saw, like, she was still able to make strategic decisions for her game and even get her alliance to go along with it, even despite it not being best for their game.
Yeah.
Like Julie, who, like, time and time again wanted certain people and would always be convinced to do who Dee wanted.
Yeah.
I think had Julie been in that exact position with that question, it would have been hard because there were moments where she let her alliance make the decisions for her.
Yeah. Caleb asked Jake, how did you make it this far? Jake says that he focused on his relationships. Drew asks, try to hype him up a little bit and says, but you tried to constantly make big moves. You're selling yourself short here, Jake. And Jake says, he always constantly was trying to make big moves. And he says that I don't really think Dee or Austin made any big moves as they sort of played the game safe. Dee sort of disagreed with that. And I think
I would say that for Austin, I think it's fair.
I think it's fair. Dee's biggest move is not telling Austin, I think, about the vote on Drew. I think that might have been her biggest move.
Well, it's not just not telling Austin, but then having Julie play her idol and voting for Emily. I think Austin kind of got to ride the Reba alliance more.
Yeah.
Where, like, yes, he was making decisions and stuff, mostly Drew and Dee. Honestly, it was mostly Dee and Drew. But, like, I don't think he ever made a big move or took the reins to an extent where it was like, this is Austin's decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, except for when he played his idol, but didn't he play his idol? Who did he play his idol on?
Austin.
He played it on himself, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the next question. Kelly brings up the execution of amulets and idols. Austin talks about the whole amulet and idol situation of giving it to Julie, tried to flush it, and said that he never really had to use his amulet because, he wasn't on the chopping block. Emily interrupts and pushes back and says, but you could have used it to save your number one and you would have saved Drew.
That would have been his big move, I think.
Yeah, in theory. Dee says that I didn't tell Austin about voting for Drew. Short takes it says knowing the advantages, and this is a great point. Knowing, because of all the shared knowledge of Reba, she's like, knowing what the advantages were and who had what allowed me to then sort of play the game and work around that.
Yeah.
And kind of use those advantages in a good way. Jake says that he wanted the people to think he was playing the idol on him and then have it play in Katora. We sort of dive into that Katora-Jake conversation. Julie asks about the showmance between Dee and Austin and how it influenced the gameplay. Dee says that he's an attractive young man, and I'm, of course, going to look at him. And, of course, I liked him. Austin says day 20 is really when it became real. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Emily says, asks, like, was the showmance a weakness, however? She pushes back. Again, Emily, fantastic jury member. Emily basically asks, was the showmance a weakness because ultimately you told Dee about the vote on Julie and somehow, she's ultimately, I think Emily and the jury know now at this point that Dee told Julie, and they want Austin to see if he knows or not, because that was important for the jury to figure that out. And she's like, well, you told Dee kind of ... and then Julie played the idol. Austin's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter because Dee didn't tell him. And at which point Dee's like, actually, raises her glasses.
Yeah.
I told Julie.
Which is a great reveal because...
Which, as we know later on, was a specific thing. She wanted Austin to bring it up for then her be like,
But honestly, it was a better time to bring it up. Like, Emily asked her earlier, like, oh, any, like, strategic move that you made with your brain? And we were like, the one where you decided not to tell Austin?
Yeah, she could have easily said earlier in the conversation.
But I think that's less impactful for that question than this moment where you are literally talking about the dynamic between Dee and Austin and how, like, Austin is compromised because he told Dee and, Dee didn't tell him about Drew, which is like, yeah, that's one level. But then the second level, like, that's one instance of Dee didn't tell Austin something.
Yeah.
then the second instance of like, oh, psych, and also I did tell Julian I lied to you. I lied straight to your face and didn't tell him until just now, like telling him in front of the jury, but like not telling him to bring it up and brag about her own game, like she said in a later interview, but correcting him. Because I think it's always more impactful when you correct someone in front of the jury. Yes. Because you're like, oh, no, you're wrong. This is really what happened.
Which Dee, in a later interview that I listened to this morning, says that was 100% my decision. I wanted to correct him. I wanted to correct Austin. I didn't want to brag. I wanted to correct Austin.
Well, yeah, and I'm saying, like, even the way that she did it was better than just saying it, but also the timing, I think, was way better.
Yes.
Like, that was 100%. A better moment to reveal it than earlier.
She also mentioned in that interview we listened to this morning where she said that she didn't want to say it at the top because it would have gone an hour later and everyone would have forgotten. And she wanted to make it near the end where it was more pivotal.
But it's also that during that whole tribal, they have built up like the score of, I feel like it's not just like freshest in their brain. They've had the back and forth volleys.
Yeah.
They've been playing tennis between Austin and Dee for the past however long.
Yeah.
And this is the slam dunk.
Yeah.
That's not tennis terms. This is the
ace.
The ace that puts the nail in the coffin for Austin. Like it's more pointed.
Yeah.
Having built up the whole narrative throughout the tribal of Austin versus Dee, one-upping each other. They finally reach like a point where it feels like they've kind of just they're there. They can't really do much else. And then Dee's like, and by the way,
yes,
I didn't just not tell you this. I lied to your face.
Yes, I lied to everybody's face.
Yeah.
And we played this whole thing. It was the big reveal. It was her small little big reveal that was the moment that won her the game.
Yeah, I think it showed that she did play the game and was not as compromised as Austin was with their relationship.
Yeah, because it came down to how much did the showmance involve. And it really separated the gameplay because it made it clear that, like, oh, Austin might have been persuaded by the showmance where Dee was not.
Well, like, as smitten as she was still able to, like, keep her head about her and play the game.
Yeah.
Whereas Austin, not so much.
Speaking about winning the game, we get the votes in. Everyone does their votes, of course. There's a hilarious moment where Kayla walks up and yells to the back, Jay, going back to the moment when he votes Jay out. Dee walks away with 5 points, Austin 3, Jake 0. That means Dee is your winner of season 45 with the help of Julie, Emily, Kelly, Katora, and Caleb all voting for Dee. And Austin getting votes from Drew, Bruce, and Kendra. And
Which there was a moment there where we thought it was going to be a tie. And
yes.
Jake's sitting there peeing his pants like he's like, I got to be the tiebreaker. Who am I going to vote for?
There's a moment where it actively looks like it's going to be a tie, and Jake actively says to Jeff after the fact of, I thought I had to make the decision, and I had to start thinking to myself, who the hell am I voting for?
Do you think he would have voted for Dee?
I think he probably would have voted for Dee.
She put him in fire.
Yeah.
She gave him that moment.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like she was more able to showcase how, she ran things.
Exactly.
Austin thought he ran things, and he did, kind of, but, like, withdrew.
Yeah. So Dee wins. Are you happy about a Dee victory?
I'm okay with the Dee victory.
Mm-hmm.
Was it what I wanted going into this season and also 3 episodes ago? No.
Sure.
Not necessarily. I think there were people that I was hoping would win.
Yeah. I think she's a solid winner. I'm not like Marianne I was happy about. Gabler was like, all right.
Well, yeah.
All right. Jam. I kind of feel like where of Dee, I kind of feel like where I was with like Jam, where I was like, yeah, I can get on board with Dee.
Yeah.
I'm not over the moon. There are people that maybe had cooler character arcs that would have been like more fulfilling if it was the case. If Jake won, that would have been super fulfilling.
Yeah.
But Jake
if
also
Emily won,
sucked the entire time. If Emily was able to get here and win, that would have been nice.
Yeah.
Like there are things I think would have been more overall season set gratifying, but Dee getting the win was still very solid and still very good.
I think if Austin had won, no offense to Austin, I would have been a little frustrated.
I would have been okay with Austin. I'm more on board with Dee than I am with Austin, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I would have, in the 3 there, I would have loved a Jake win. I knew that he wasn't going to win.
His game was so... I know.
Had he not fumbled the challenge,
yeah,
and had he not fumbled that whole immunity idol thing, I think he would have had a better case.
Yeah.
Going into it, I think he would have had more of a leg to stand on with Austin and D.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that the fire didn't really help his case in any way. It was just allowed him to get the third.
Well, yes, but like had he had those other things, I think he would have had more of a case with the fire.
Sure.
I think the fire would have helped him more.
Yeah.
If he was on a little bit of a winning streak at the end there.
Yeah.
Because that would have been like, it's the last leg of the race, and he picks it up into a full sprint and overtakes at least the second place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he would have gotten at least a vote.
He would have gone from last place to maybe he would have overtaken fourth. He maybe could have overtaken second. I think that would have been enough of a momentum, at least for him to feel like he deserved it. Enough that he could argue for himself.
Yeah.
I think going into it, there was probably some sort of mental satisfaction of, you know what, they deserve this. I'm just happy with third.
Yeah. I agree.
And I think that definitely showed in the fact that he definitely he gave his arguments. I don't think he went in fighting for himself.
Yeah.
And I think if he had the momentum of he won the immunity challenge, or at least he got close to Austin and didn't drop the key, didn't lose a puzzle piece, he was damn close. And I think had Tribal gone a little bit better and Katurah not flipped on him, and D gone, D was gone, I think he would have had some momentum to be mentally in it.
Yeah.
And to fight for himself. Whether or not he won, I don't know. Maybe second.
Yeah.
If that. But
I think he would have at least got, like I said, at least got an A vote maybe.
And I think going into fire, he would have felt more fired up.
Yeah.
Afterward. I think he just, once fire happened, and because of all that happened before that, I think he was like, you know what? I'm happy with this.
Yeah. He got what he wanted.
Which is fair. And I think circumstantially, I think that was I think he's not wrong.
Yeah, goes back to what I said about Jake is that at the end there, it wasn't about the $1 million.
No.
His story ended when he won fire.
Yeah, and I think if he had won or had done, things had gone better for him in the couple events prior to that, he might have had enough momentum to fight for himself for second.
Yeah.
If it wasn't D and Austin sitting next to him.
Yeah. If
he had gotten D out with Katurah and he had beaten Katurah at fire, and then it was him, Julie, and Austin.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the post-op conversations at the gathering. Not really a lot. It's just sort of different news items or whatever that I wrote down. Like we said, Jake Foley thought that he was going to have to be the tiebreaker vote. Austin said that girls are better at playing guys. The guys are playing girls. Because he was unable to lie to D, but D was able to lie to him.
And they say women are controlled by their emotions.
Kendra,
thank you, D, for breaking the cycle, for breaking the stigma.
Kendra goes fully astrological and basically says, I called that they were going to be a thing before I even met D.
What was that thing that Jeff said in the intro or whatever?
Oh, when he's hyping up this post-op conversation?
Yeah.
He's like, and can you believe it? Survivor. Keep making lovers. Keep having a romantic relationship. Another showmance on the season. Is it the magic of the island or is it astrological? I don't know. Well, ask Kendra.
That was so funny.
I love Jeff. D says the tribe swap is for her really when it clicked of oh, I like this guy, because the tribe swap happened. Austin left to Bello, and she was like, oh, I kind of miss that guy. And then she started having the conversation of, wait, why do I miss this guy? Do I have feelings for this man?
And then she's like, dork, why do you miss him?
Yeah.
Why are you sad?
She does bring up the idea, which it was I love the camera edits when it's D brings up the idea of yeah, and I've been single for 2 years, and it cuts to Austin. Austin's like,
No, she said, I'm single, but I'm definitely ready.
Yeah.
And he's like, really?
Great.
Yeah. Cool. Maybe should have asked that before we started the showmance.
Yeah.
He probably just assumed.
D, I hope so.
There was probably a conversation of, I bet your boyfriend is excited for you to come home, and she's like,
I don't have a boyfriend.
Have a boyfriend.
I've been single for 2 years, so I'm ready to mingle.
He's like, Okay.
I'm not
cool.
just ready to mingle.
File that away for later.
Not just ready to mingle. Wink.
Do you want to be my Amber to my Rob?
D Rob in this situation? I think so.
I think so.
D says that with the win, she plans to retire her parents. Kelly's. We talk about the Kelly's blind side. And so she says that she completely blacked out during it. She had no idea what she was saying. She was so shocked. Austin talks about how he was an alternate, and they talk about that. Julie finally reveals that she's a lawyer, which shocks everybody, as again, especially Drew. Sorry, not Drew. Jake. Jake's like, there's another one? Jake reveals that he's a prosecutor, not a public defender, and Jeff acknowledges that all 3 lawyers lied in this game.
And Jake's like, I lied the least.
Which I will say, that was the moment where I forgot that what kind of lawyer he was, but it was this moment where I turned to you and I said, I think Jake is a very good shot of winning the Sia bonus money, the fan favorite Sia bonus money. And then I thought to myself, the problem is that he is a prosecutor, and I don't necessarily like a prosecutor getting a bunch of money. I don't really love lawyers getting a bunch of money. They're already getting high paying, a bunch of people, but especially
not all of them.
Yeah,
especially like
Katora's
public defenders and
Katora as a civil rights attorney is
probably not making that much.
But Jake being a prosecutor, I was just like, I think he's a city prosecutor too. It's just like, that fucking sucks. I'll be honest, that stinks. And that's pretty much it. That's Survivor Season 45. Well, let's talk some stuff. Fan favorite. If you were Sia, if you had a wig that covered your face,
or a paper bag,
and you were on the chandelier, that
was brilliant, amazing.
She's
you. Gonna definitely be upset that you are stealing her.
Thank you. If you
if
you had to pick a fan favorite for the season, obviously we're not going to pick an MVP this season. This fan favorite isn't bonus points or anything. We're not picking an MVP because MVP probably is a D. She won. So the MVP thing for bonus points here. We'll get to the points in a moment. But if you had to think of a fan favorite, if you had to think about who was your favorite player on this season 45 of Survivor, Jess, who would that person be?
I mean, definitely Brandon.
Yeah, baby.
Sorry, Brandon.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mine is that girl that had
Hannah.
Hannah that was like, I didn't want to stop smoking before I came out here. Or whatever drug that I thought it was cigarettes, but maybe it was a drug or something she was on.
Cigarettes. I don't know. I think there's an argument for a lot of people. For Jake, there's an argument for Emily.
But who do you like the most?
Looking at all their faces, and I'm like, who?
I forgot all of these people.
I don't know. I really wanted Sabaya to go further.
Oh yeah, obviously. She wasn't your team, so I think that's part of it.
I mean, yeah, but I think that there was a lot of potential there.
I like Caleb a lot.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loved Caleb. That's why he was gone.
I love Caleb a lot. I liked Drew for a while, but then he started becoming a villain, and I was like, I don't know about this guy anymore. I did like Jake. I was in the Jake camp. I was not in the Jake camp for a while, and then at the end, it was like once you saw more of Jake's personality, it was like, all right, post-merge, Jake really flourished.
Yeah, and I think he has a heart of gold.
The Boston Labrador.
He does.
Emily also, again, turned around. We both hated her episode 1. I dogged on Emily so hard episode 1.
I thought she was great television.
Oh, I agree. At the time, I said she's great television, but I hated her. And she really turned it around for herself, which I was very proud of.
Can we just acknowledge Julie's face in this cast photo?
Yeah, no.
There's so much
I really
of her
like,
body in that smile.
I know it's Mama J, but I did really like Julie.
I did too.
She was subtle. She was maybe like my number one favorite, but it was like
she kind of had some minor villain moments.
Oh yeah, I mean she constantly like
maybe more like antagonist than villain.
Yeah, she had sort of that like moment of like I don't want to be the bad guy, and I keep being the bad guy. and I hate it. I'm like, well, that it's a shame that you're great at it, Julie. I don't know. I really like Caleb a lot. I thought Caleb was great. I think Caleb is one of those people of like the problem of like being on Survivor is like if you're really overtly charismatic, you can get far, but you will not last long.
You'll get a lot farther if you're the opposite, like Emily
or Gabler,
and like slowly work into being likable.
Yeah. You have to have people. You can't have people love you from the jump. You have to like slowly get people to love you.
Well, you also can't have people dislike you too much.
That's true.
Because that's when they have zero information to go off of. They're going to go off of who they dislike the most.
Yeah, based off of vibes or whatever.
Yeah. I honestly think there's a good argument for Emily, and I think it's like I know it's like the obvious choice, but like she really turned the ship around for herself.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think Katora? If I was Sia, I can maybe see the argument of giving Katora the Sia money. I don't know if she was necessarily a fan favorite of mine, but I think Katora's story and everything that she went through in this season, if I was Sia, I'd be like, and she's a civil rights attorney. Yeah, here's some money.
Yeah. I think that we didn't really see a lot from Katora, but I think the way that people were I think it's unfortunate that in the edit most of what they focused on was her talking about Bruce,
which it sucks because that was just that was all the story that we got from her. It's just I don't like Bruce,
and I imagine that there was more to it because people were threatened by her, and like this always happens where it's like because they didn't make the final 3 we don't really see much of them, but honestly like she made it to the final 4. I feel like we should have seen more of her game because like at that point we weren't really thinking like the fire making against Jake the stakes weren't that high, I don't feel like, because Dee was like threatened by Katora, but we had no reason to believe like why she would be threatened by Katora. I feel like the stakes would have been much higher if like we had gotten more of Katora in the edit.
I see what you're saying.
To see more of her, and I feel like they always do this, I feel like, where it's like it ends up being the people with the most screen time are usually the final 3.
Yeah.
But, like, what about that final 4? Like, that's way more compelling to see. And, again, I get it because it's like Reba was running the game. I don't know. I feel like
I get what you're saying. I think you're right. Is that like obviously some people suspected Katora as a bigger threat than what we saw based on what we saw.
Yeah.
Maybe that's our interpretation. I don't know. But at the same time,
like I don't think she wasn't a threat. I just think that was she a bigger threat than everybody else left?
I think it does put into question, however, this idea of like she was in Final 4, so presumably they would have showed us much more of her game. But then I think it also then brings up the obvious question the obvious response to that is, what if that was just all the game that she had, and everyone's perception of her was just as a bigger threat? And I think maybe a lot of her perception, to be fair, is also she's a great talker, and we knew that. But like maybe her game really was just like that was just kind of it, I think that's I get what you're saying, but I don't know. Based on what we saw, there seems to be more on the vine, but also it's like surely they would have shown us everything, and then it's like, well, then maybe they did show us everything. So who knows? I guess maybe that is we have to listen to an interview with Katora to figure out more of what she's talking about.
I mean, and to be fair, like I think we didn't give her enough credit for like we kind of dogged on her for like every time someone would tell her not to say something and she'd go tell somebody else. Like I don't think a lot of people like think, they don't, I'm not going to tell this person because it's going to come back to bite me because I'm the one that told it. And it never came back to bite her that like she would share information with people because I think she was connected enough.
Yeah.
And I think we didn't like talk about that enough. I think we kind of dogged on her for being like, of course, Katora would go tell the one person.
Which is
like
the thing that Dee picks up on a lot is that like she was on the right side of the vote and no one really wanted the gun for her that much.
Yeah. And she did that because it's, for her game.
Yeah.
And I think Dee probably picked up on that because that's what Dee was doing.
Yeah.
And it did come back to bite her because the one time she shouldn't have done it, she did it. She went against whatever and didn't vote out Dee.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like that's part of her game that, like, in retrospect, I see, but, like, didn't see throughout the season didn't pick up on. Just kind of dogged on her for being like, of course Katora would go tell the one person. Why would you tell Katora? She's going to go tell somebody else. But the fact that she kept doing that and no one ever went after her for it is kind of impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like usually people get voted out for that sort of thing.
So that's
like Emily.
Yeah. That's the fan favorite award. I also want to give out the classic Messy Bee award for the messiest bee of the season. For example, Kayla in that Jessie season, I think, wins that award for messiest bee. I think her name is Kayla.
I don't know who you're talking about.
She was the Hispanic woman that had the nose ring. In that season. I think she gets Messiest Bee award. There was a season prior in the Marianne season, the girl that was really good on camera, and then she's the reason they stopped doing the Ponderosa videos, is because she just got angry at everybody at Ponderosa. I think she maybe gets Messiest Bee award. Who gets Messiest
Carla.
Bee? Carla. There it is.
I was like, Kayla's not her name.
I was like, I thought it was Kayla. Obviously, I was wrong. Carla, I think, got messiest bee that season. Who's the messiest bee this season? And I have a guess.
Is it Emily?
Not really.
Or is it Bruce?
I think the B stands for Bruce this season.
Messiest bee.
Bruce talks 3 times this entire episode. Like, at least before the post-op. I stopped counting at the post-op. He talks like 2, maybe 3 times. He doesn't even ask a question. And if he did, they cut it out. Like, he was like a ghost in this finale. I was just kind of shocked by it, because it was like Bruce was such a character the entire game. And it's like maybe there's some sort of controversy about Bruce that I don't know about or something, but
or
they
maybe
cut
his
him out.
Question just didn't lead
to anything fun.
Anything in the edit.
Which is plausible, but it's like then they usually like add some sort of dumb music underneath it or something. It was just like they cut him out of this episode so much. And the one time he really talked was, when everyone in the jury had something to say, but the only other time was him admitting that he had an idol and then D dunking on him.
And D going, well, then you should have played it.
Which made me think of like, did Bruce like upset a producer or something? Did he say something while the episodes are coming out? Is he like, I don't know, pro Hamas or something? I don't know, some insane thing. Like for some reason, Bruce got like really cut out this episode, and I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but something about Bruce just feels like he was the messiest bee this season. I don't really think there's Emily. I can see maybe an argument, but I don't really know. Maybe you could also make an argument for Katora in terms of like always turning around and just telling everybody, but I don't think that's really that. So messiest bee to me is also more so like who's the pettiest person. And also, it just reads Bruce. Maybe Drew, maybe Emily, maybe you can make an argument for them, but really it feels like it's Bruce. Are there any other special awards that you want to give out, Bean, for this season?
I mean, obviously they tried really hard award, which is
Jake. The Lincoln Park Award, please.
The Lincoln Park Award goes to Jake.
He tried so hard. And got so far.
I think biggest turnaround, Emily.
Yep. Biggest character growth, Emily, for sure.
And
biggest hair, Caleb.
Biggest wobble, but no damage, D.
Big wobble, no damage, goes at D. Greatest mom, Emily. Interesting.
Yeah.
Just like an interesting, different award. I
think most references used in the season, Drew.
Most literary references used in the season.
I guess the Shakespeare Award goes to Drew.
Best eyes goes to Kelly. And Austin. Biggest teeth, Austin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most forgettable. Who's the most forgettable award go to? And I'll tell you who. I want to say his name is Sean.
The one who quit?
The second one that quit.
Yeah, I would say Brando.
Brando is very forgettable.
Like, Sean at least quit and had a memorable moment. I feel like Brando is kind of forgettable. You can't forget Brandon, because
no,
could never forget Sifu.
No.
Least forgettable, Sifu.
I wish I could forget him.
He just keeps running around your brain.
Like, I remember Hannah more than I remember Sean and Brando for sure.
I think I remember everyone more than I remember Brando.
Least tapped potential, Sabaya. She could have had a very interesting post-merge game if she survived that long, but it's just Lulu kept losing and sucking, so she had to go at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know. These are our Survivor superlatives.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Best hair.
Caleb.
No, I thought you were gonna say Austin, but it was definitely D. Her hair was always on point.
It is true.
I don't know how.
I am pro fro. I am pro short fro on Caleb. I'm not sure about the big old 70s fro on Caleb. I was bigger. I like the shorter fro on him. These are just my fro takes.
I think he's a small dude. Well, he's not small. He's tall.
He's tall.
But he's like...
It just adds more height.
Yeah.
It makes his head even bigger. I just like the shorter fro. Kendra, what's her superlative?
The Carolyn Award.
The Carolyn Award, of course, goes to Kendra. That's a dumb question to ask.
She didn't do it as well as Carolyn.
No, but she was herself.
Yeah, but she was
herself.
The most, I guess, the Authenticity Award is...
AKA the Carolyn Award.
Yeah.
Goes to, of course, Kendra.
Yeah.
Anything else about the season before we get to points?
It was fine. I think... It's like when the
record 2 hours of the finale and you're like, it was fine.
It's like when, the team that's like 14-0 all season wins the championship and you're like,
all right.
Cool.
all right.
That's fine.
Sure.
I feel like I'm glad it was D and not Austin, but you really want an upset win.
Sure.
That's really what I always hope for.
The Marianne was like a big yeah.
Yeah. And I felt that in my core.
Yeah.
But this, I just felt like, yeah, it's D. D makes sense, right? Like, D as the winner, especially of those three, makes sense. I don't want the winner that makes sense. I want the winner that takes it. You know what I mean?
I'm looking at the Survivor Reddit and just sort of looking at people's thoughts on the Sia Award person. And someone, if we had to give a different superlative to somebody, I think we'll give it, I'm going to steal it from the Reddit commenter. The Charlie Brown Award obviously goes to Jake. Kicking that football and always missing, but he always gets back up to kick that football one more time.
He'll always kick that football.
The Charlie Brown Award.
Kick that football, Jake. You don't stop kicking.
I thought it was a good season. Let's rank the seasons that we've seen. Okay, so we saw season 41 with Marianne, 42 with 42 was Marianne. My apologies. 43 was Gabler. 44 was Jam. 45 is D. If we had to rank the seasons overall, how would we rank these seasons?
I mean, I think my favorite of the four was the Marianne season.
Mm-hmm. Me too. That's my number one.
Yeah. Which one was the one that had Jessie? Was that Gabler's?
That was Gabler's.
I liked that season. I didn't necessarily...
The winner is not great.
I wasn't stoked by a Gabler win, but it did shock me, which I think is kind of... Like, even if I don't agree with the winner, I want it to shock me.
It was a nice twist.
Yeah.
because it was a twist that we didn't see coming, but it was also like a tribal council performance, that were like a jury performance where like, actually...
You could see it moving toward Gabler.
Yeah, and all of us being like, wait, actually... Gabler might pull this out.
Yeah.
And that was good. That was a great twist.
Yeah.
He did a good job of doing that. I like a performance like that.
Yeah. And honestly, I think I think what's more of a compelling season is two people in the final three that have similar games that we saw a lot of, but they were the underdogs the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Well, then, what about Jam Jam season with 3 people in the final?
No, that's what I just said.
Oh, okay, perfect. Oh, you said 2. Sorry.
Who's the third person?
Carson?
Carson was not in the final 3.
Yeah, he was.
No, he was not.
100%.
He was not.
100%.
No, he wasn't.
100%. 1,000%. It was Carolyn, Carson, and Jam Jam.
No, because he asked a question from the jury.
Oh, he did. It was because it was vital that he was in the jury. You're right. Carson was in jury because it was vital for him to be in that jury because he was coaching them essentially from the sidelines.
Yeah.
Who was the third?
It was
Jam Jam.
Heidi. It was Heidi.
Who the hell is Heidi?
Green Tribe, I think.
Can you have a
curly
picture?
Hair?
I don't know. I don't know who that woman is.
Yes, you do.
She is not real.
How dare!
She is.
You don't remember Heidi?
Whoever Heidi is, she is not. Oh yeah, I remember Heidi.
God, Heidi was the one I thought was going to win from the beginning.
If I recall correctly, her performance was just not that great in the jury.
And again, so I think it was more compelling to have two people from the same tribe that we saw a lot of that were like the focus of the season, but they were the underdogs the whole time, versus the two people who from the very beginning have been on the winning alliance and all we see is the Reba 4, and then 2 of them make it to the final 3 like we said they were going to,
and then one of them
wins. I think that's less compelling. Obviously it's what happened. I just felt like it was played out and boring.
It sounds like you're leaning towards the exact order that the seasons have come out is what your 1, 2, 3, and 4 is.
Yeah.
Marianne, Gabler, Jam Jam, D.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like you hated the season per se.
No, and I think like the earlier of this season, I think the earlier half of the season to me was better than the first half of last season, because the first half of last season was just the same tribe getting crushed over and over and over again, and then it just continued on. Versus like this was like
also that
a little bit of that, but then we got more tribe camp life.
Yeah.
To build up the other tribes.
The 90
we got
minutes
to watch
helped.
other things.
The 90 minutes helped that.
But I think the ending of this season, if we're going by like the end of the season, I think last season was better.
I think this season did a lot better, and I think it's mostly because of the 90 minutes of diving into people and the humans a lot more. I don't know if we would have learned as much about Katora, as much about Jake, or if we would have learned about them, we would have learned less about other people.
Yeah.
I think the 90 minutes really helped. Like you said, we would have had just like, the first half of the season would have been so tiring and boring if it was literally just like week after week after week after week of just seeing Lulu suck at this and then constantly lose, and then nothing else.
Yeah.
We just see the just an hour of people sucking. Versus 90 minutes of people sucking or 60 minutes of people sucking and then 30 minutes of people being like, hey, we're having fun over here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I liked Marianne a lot. Gabler, I also enjoyed him as a good twist. And Jessie being in there was great.
I think that like final 4 was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like Jessie getting eliminated was, I think, heartbreaking.
If Gabler didn't win, maybe that's above Marianne. I really like that season.
Yeah, I think I was
Gabler
in
win
it.
is just like, and also what after the fact of Gabler, it's just sort of like, I don't know if I want to really praise that.
Yeah.
Also, I don't really want to necessarily praise a passive performance.
Which Emily didn't either.
Yeah, it's really dangerous, is that sort of idea.
I was everyone, I think we all were, our hearts were shattered when Jessie lost.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was...
Sorry, the Kool-Aid man just walked in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was shattered. But I was still invested in that whole, like, from the final 4. Like, and that's the thing. I wasn't really invested. It's kind of like...
What sucks about that is that whole season's great right up until Jessie loses, because everything after that is Gabler winning and the entire jury, like, hating on Cassie.
Yeah.
Or Cassidy or whatever her name was. Like, everyone online being like, oh, she was going to win, and then being like... What really helped Gabler win was him having a better jury performance than everyone expected, but also
so that they felt like okay giving him the win because he had a good jury performance.
And everyone was upset at Cassidy for eliminating Jessie.
Which honestly,
and not putting up her immunity to face Jessie at fire.
No.
Screw with that. That's dumb.
I was so mad about that.
That finale was just sort of like,
I was shattered into a million pieces when Jessie was eliminated. However, she did what needed to do. She knew like how to eliminate Jessie.
Yeah. Literally,
that should count for something.
Yeah, she was never going to win. It was a lose-lose situation for her based on this jury. Yeah. It was like either Jessie is in Final 3 and wins the game, or he loses fire, and then I'm out, and then I win. The only thing that would have impressed people was for me to beat Jessie at fire, I guess, but I still think people would have been upset about that maybe. I don't know. I think they were unfair to her. I think it was unfair completely. But yeah, I think I agree with you. Shattered into a million. I'm still hurt about it. Marianne's was great. It was a great, fun season. Yeah, that was really satisfying because I feel like the person who should have won. Yeah. Jam was like, yeah, I'm on board with that. That's fine by me. And it was a solid season with them. And of course I met my podiatrist. And then, this season was very much like loser up the top, the losers at the top. And then at the last half, it was just sort of like Reba 4 domination, but no one realizing it and just getting constantly winning, getting destroyed over and over again. It just, the rats eating each other, basically. Anyways, let's get to the points. My least favorite part of this, because I've been losing. Aren't official until this evening. They aren't official until this evening. We can either stop here and record it later as a part 2, I guess, of the recording, or I did tally up what I think the points will be. I think we should just wait. Are you sure? Yeah. Because we can finish the episode and not record later tonight. And you're also working till like, what, 9 or something tonight? Yeah, but it'll take 5 minutes. And I think, I don't know, I feel like if we have the time to just do it accurately. Okay. That's fine. We can do that. Who knows? You may get more points than you think. I don't think I'll get enough points. All right. Then we will be back in 5 seconds with the totals of the points and everything and all the information that we need. Should we do the outro anyway? No, can we just do this one actually? Because I'm also thinking about like, okay, when am I going to edit it at 10 o'clock tonight and then upload it immediately? Like I'm going to go bed later tonight because we have to wake up super early. I would prefer if we just do it. How about we do it now and then if we have the time, we'll re-record it. Or if it's dramatically different. Yeah, I would just maybe not upload it until tonight. Like tonight. So again, I have to edit it later tonight. Well, no, because you might not have to edit it later tonight. You can edit it now, and if it comes out, it's not that different. Then we're like, okay, just upload it. Okay. If it comes out and it's very different, then we're like, okay. Okay. So let's get to the points here. I went through all the points and bonus points, everything based off of global.tv the website we've been going with to get all these points for the entire season. They don't upload them until Thursday afternoon. We're recording this Thursday morning, so we don't know if this isn't the official point totals. Also, I don't even have our total point totals, but I do know what the differential is between the two of us. Last we left off, you were winning by 69 points. Nice. Thank you. But I went through and basically was like, okay, what do we have here? So I guess I will go through what we have here, starting with the people that don't matter. D, she did win, so it doesn't necessarily that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to our points. Doesn't matter to us because she wasn't on either of our teams. D walked away with 50 points this episode. A lot of points in this episode, based on what I calculated. 50 points for D. She gets 30 points for winning the whole damn thing. She got 5 points for getting chosen to go on a reward. Wait, no. No, she didn't get chosen. She didn't get chosen to go on a reward. Jake got chosen to go on a reward. What did she get 5 points for? No, she didn't get 5 of the points. She didn't get those points. She didn't get the 5 of the points. Yeah, so you're right. My mistake. Again, this is why I'm a Dumby. I'm like Gumby, but I'm Dumby. All right, so she gets 45 points. She gets 30 points for winning the game, and then 15 points for doing something.
You didn't write any of these down?
No, of course not. What did she get 15 points for?
Okay. Let's redo this later.
Oh, wait, no. Hold on.
She won individual immunity.
Yes, that's what it is. Wins individual immunity. Thank you. I knew it was like this is something.
Come on, Ryan, get it together.
Dee gets 45 points. She gets 30 for winning the whole thing and 15 points for winning individual immunity. Moving on to Julie, 10 points is all I have written down. Typically, you get 3 points for each week they survive post-merge. I don't think she gets 3 points here for being eliminated at 5. Same thing with Katora getting eliminated at 4. Because they say survive each week, and they didn't survive the week. They survived 10 minutes into the episode or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to give her the 3 points. That kind of sucks to be in 5th and 4th. You even get list points and everybody else. But I said she got 10 points because she was Torch gets snuffed as a result of a blind side. Sorry, Julie. Speaking about Katora as well. Katora, I said, got 15 points. We said she got 5 for visually crying of tears on camera. We could not recall if she cursed. But
I know Jake did.
We know Jake did. We could not recall if she cursed, but either way,
if anything, it would have been when she was talking in the confessional, probably about Dee and how she fucked up.
Potentially, we're not entirely positive, but she definitely cried on camera. That's 5, and then 10 points is getting an idol played on her, is having someone else's idol. A hidden immunity idol is played on them by another player. So she gets 15 points. So right now, in terms of teams, Julie has 10, Katora has 15. You have Katora, I have Julie.
I had 15?
Yes, you had 15, I have 10. Moving on to Austin. Bless you. Moving on to Austin, he has 35 points. He gets 20 points for coming in second place. And he gets 15 points for winning individual immunity. Good for him. He only gets, as far as I can tell, 35 points. I think the things I would be missing, if anything, are the 5-point stuff. But honestly, folks, it is not going to change a thing because based on what we got coming up, it's rough stuff. So, again, Dee got 45, Austin 35, Julie 10, Katora 15. I had Austin and Julie. That gives me an extra 45 points, folks. Which means that right now we have a 69-point differential. I have
24.
45 points. It brings me to 24.
I have a 24-point lead.
You have a 24-point lead, and I haven't said Jake yet. So again, unless I
did you already get the...
Yes?
Well, I have 15 points that you haven't counted for yet, so now I have a 39-point lead.
Oh, yes, sorry. My mistake. 24 plus 15 from Katora. That's a 39-point differential. I have not named Jake yet. So unless, again, this is why I don't think the 5-point things necessarily matter. If I'm completely off and a bunch of people like Austin missed a bunch of 5 points or whatever, unless he can get 8 different 5-point categories, I'm not making it up. And that's before I said Jake.
Okay.
Jake.
Tell me Jake.
So what I have written down for Jake is that he gets 10 points for coming in third place, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got 5 points for getting chosen to go on a reward, for finding a game advantage.
Did he find that in this episode?
Yep. At the beginning of the episode, he found that advantage. Not the idol, but the advantage.
Does that count? Finds or gets a game advantage. Okay, I was like, he didn't find it.
Visually cries on camera with tears. I would say that's true. Says a curse word.
Yep.
That's true. No one kissed another player in the game, by the way. We needed a single kiss from Dee or Austin. And right now, as of press time, no idea if there are even a couple. There's hints.
All
maybe,
signs are pointing to yes.
but there's hints. They're making it hush-hush.
Yeah.
I believe that was all the 5-point stuff. He didn't get any 10 points. He also gets 15 points for gives an immunity idol or away or plays it for another player, and winning a fire-making challenge.
Did you gets chosen to go on a reward?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So adding all of those different points up, folks, that gives Jake 60 points. I believe that is the most. I believe that is the most points ever gotten from anyone in this entire season based off of the point scoring that we've been going off. So again, that bumps you up all the way, assuming we don't have massive difference. But again, this massive difference is a lot. That bumps you up to a 99-point differential, meaning that Jessie Dubiowski has won this season of Scurvivor Series.
Woo, woo, whoop, whoop, whoop.
You want to give us speech?
Well, I just want to thank Jake for crying on camera and for Katora for cursing on camera consistently to get me consistent points. I just want to thank myself for picking a strong team from the beginning and never wavering and trusting in myself. I believe, I want to say, no, you started with Julie, right? Did you start with Julie or did you pick up Julie?
I believe I started with Julie.
Okay, I was going to say, both my people in the final were from the beginning, so I never wavered. I just want to thank myself for never wavering.
Wow.
And for being like just there for myself when I needed it, and for really like, you know, trusting my gut. And I just want to thank my biggest supporter, Tucker and Jude and myself again, for
my biggest supporter, me.
And I just thank you to Jake for getting me further than I thought you would, and I never doubted you. This is where we cut in, where I'm like, who do I get rid of? Maybe Jake. But I didn't. You know what? I didn't get rid of you. So, yeah. I would like to thank our Lord and Savior, Jeff Probst, for provoking,
of course,
Jake to say curse words and cry. Yeah, that's all I got.
And you're welcome, folks.
Suck it.
Suck it, America. Well, there you go. That's the very humble speech by our winner, Jessie Dubiowski. This has been...
I'm always humble. I'm the most humble person that there is. Like, I'm always humble.
I'm honestly the best at being humble.
Honestly, like, I'm better at everyone.
At being humble. Yeah. Everyone really sucks at it.
Yeah. And, like, I don't even have to say it. I'm the most humble that I've ever met, so...
Yeah, I believe this is a Lonely Island song from Popstar. Never Stop Stoppin'. Anyways, this has been this season of Scurvivor Series. If you like this show, if you appreciated what we did here, then we would please encourage you to subscribe to the show wherever you get podcasts, and also leave a review. Leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That's the most helpful place for those reviews, but anywhere obviously is helpful. We would appreciate it. It would help us a lot if we leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get podcasts. Podcast. We would greatly appreciate it. It would really help us out. And, of course, we would recommend subscribing to Scurvivor Series. Now, I know that doesn't mean you'll get anything in the future immediately, but we can say that the new season of Survivor Season 46 will start on February 28th, which means we will have an episode, ideally.
We'll be back.
We'll be back, ideally, February 26th in the new year with our sort of breakdown of reading over and who we're going to pick for our new season of Scurvivor.
So if you have any complaints about the way that we choose our teams or any critiques, get them in now.
And you can email those at scurvivorseries@gmail.com, SCURVIVOR series @gmail.com. Any other thoughts, Jessie?
My shameless plug of the week?
Yes, sure.
Negotiate your health bills.
Yeah.
Always get an itemized bill from especially any hospital stay, emergency room visit. Make sure that before you pay it, they're gonna mail you a bunch of bills, and then call up the billing department and say, send me an itemized copy, please.
Yeah.
And you can dispute charges. Maybe they charge you for morphine and you never got morphine. That's expensive. Fight it. And sometimes, as we found out with Ryan, that if you ask to be on a payment plan, they'll knock off a couple $100 for you to just pay it. So
true fact. I didn't fight anything at all. I just said I was too poor to pay it at this time, and they said, "How about we knock off like $500 off your bill?" And I'm like, All right.
Yeah.
I can pay now.
Don't let them take advantage of you. Always ask for an itemized copy. Go through it. Dispute any charges. Don't let them just take your money without a fight. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, folks. Fight the power.
You can call the billing department and you can tell them that I did not receive this.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't receive it,
they
will charge you for things that you don't, because it's a big operation.
Yeah.
They're just going to slap it on there and they're going to hope that people, they're like, well, 9 times out of 10, we did give him morphine. So.
Well, I think people at home would appreciate that advice. I think
that's
people at home.
Plug of the week.
That's their shameless plug of the week. My shameless plug of the week is just love everybody.
Wow, how vague and unhelpful.
Go listen to Sia's new album. I don't know what album is. Anyways, thank you all back. We'll be back in February for the new season of Survivor. New season of Scurvivor. My apologies. We'll never explain what Scurvivor means and why we say Scurvivor, not Survivor. That's fine. But we appreciate everybody for listening to this season. We'll be back in February. Until then,
goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.